Hello, hello. See if anyone jumps on here. So I'm just editing a video here and I haven't done live and I thought I'd just like test it out. I know this isn't my usual camera too, but it is what it is. And it seems like it's okay. So yeah, we'll see if people jump on here, if people want to like chat with me. Well, I'm actually editing. I just recorded my review for the new Harakiri for Sky album, and it's freaking rips. Also, if you're wondering, I'm not wearing the mask because that mask is fucking hot. Like it sucks to wear it for an extended period of time. Wearing a mask sucks too, but the rubber, just the sweat pouring down and everything freaking sucked. I know, right? Big surprise. You can see part of my face. That's nuts. I know my face came back. It's crazy. But I know, where's my jaw? I know the mask is still here. I'm taking away some of the mystery here, but yeah, there you go. Yeah, I'm not going to do a live stream and edit an entire video while I wear that mask, because even just when I do like the tier list videos, and the like longer form videos, what else? Like, I mean, anything that requires me. Oh, also the best of Bandcamp ones, because those take longer to record. Even just wearing that mask for more than like 15-20 minutes, I just start sweat pouring down my face. It freaking blows. So yeah, I'm just going to be editing this video, and we can kind of chat while we go. So there may be some periods where I'm like kind of quiet, and it's because I'm like syncing up audio and video and stuff. But feel free to ask me. Live wrong and perspire. I like that. Feel free to ask me anything while we're going along. I am already getting so much music for 2021. It's crazy. So the weird thing too is I don't have a ton for January, but mostly February. Like there's so many February releases coming through. I guess that's kind of typical because not as many bands release stuff in January. But I'm trying to get as many January things done in advance as possible. Also, let me know, does my voice sound weird? Because this microphone sometimes with the adapter I use, it'll like pitch it down and I won't know because I can't hear myself right now. So I mean, I know I'm muffled, but does it like sound like low? Like, is it giving me more of like a bassy voice than how I normally sound in my videos? You all can let me know. Sounds okay? Okay, good. Because sometimes it gets weird. Yeah, what's up? I'm surprised at how many people are actually jumping in here, so that's cool. Yeah. What do you think of Venom's black metal album? Which album? Are you talking about like a newer one, or are you talking about like the classic? Like you're talking about like the album black metal? I dig it. It's a good one. I'm not a huge Venom fan, but you know, when I first started getting into and everything, of course I had to go back and listen to that one. And yeah, it's a solid one. It's not something I go back to a lot, but I do enjoy it. Yeah, have you checked out Green Druid yet? No, I have not. It's a December release. Sounds like a doom band. I'm not familiar with what genre are they. Green Druid just sounds like a doom band for me. It could totally be something else. Sounds better to me than your video audio, to be honest. Okay, interesting. This is like like I usually do like a compressor and stuff on it to get it all so that there's not like peaks in the audio and everything. So you won't have that here. Favorite Metallica album? Ride the Lightning. It's got to be Ride the Lightning. I love their kind of proggier stuff too, like especially Master of Puppets is probably a close second. But when it comes to Metallica, I like them fast and hard, and Ride the Lightning's where it's at. Have you heard of Lividity Brutal Death Metal? No, I have. That sounds vaguely familiar, but no. Any albums to look forward to in 2021? I put out my video on that. I know it was mostly your all picks. There were a few that came up to me after I put that video up. Every Time I Die is a big one that I should have mentioned, especially after they dropped the 2 singles that I did the reaction for. Holy fuck. Those tracks are just like, I love all Every Time I Die's albums, but I was not expecting them to just like those 2 songs sound like they're outtakes from like their way earlier material, which is my favorite era of Every Time I Die. Totally stoked for that one. I think we're gonna get a new Converge album too, so stoked for that. Septic Flesh, definitely. I am working on my tier list. In fact, I have it half done, so I'm gonna do that in 2 parts, I decided. I'm doing a pre there because they broke up after Sumerian Demons originally. So I'm gonna do one that's already done from the beginning through Sumerian Demons, and then after the new album comes out, I will include that in the second half. And then I'm also stoked for Flesh God Apocalypse. That single "No" is so fucking good. If you've not watched my reaction to that, I encourage you to do so. Yeah, Green Druid Doom Sledge. How did I know? Like, it's funny to me, like with how much music I listen to now, how much I can predict some of these things, but I can be wrong too. Um, New Devin Townsend, yes. I'm not a huge Devin Townsend fan, but I really respect him and the work he does. I just never really gotten into him. I did see him play live back when he was still Devin Townsend band, at the first Sounds of the Underground with like Guar, Lamb of God was headlining, Poison the Well was there. Norma Jean there? I think so. Yeah, there's so many bands at that. Oh, Opeth was there. That was such a sick concert. I was so lucky to have gone to that. Ride for Lightning and Justice for All, great picks. Yeah, and Justice for All is probably like my third. Of Nile, yeah, that would be great. If you're, I can't say enough though. If you like Rivers of Nile, you all should really check out Neck of the Woods. I've been really trying to promote these guys a ton. They're more on like the metalcore side, but they also have like a lot of that kind of Rivers of Nile sound to them, and they're just so slept on. And I hate it for them because they're so good. But you might want to check that out. New S Fix. I don't. That might even be in my inbox. Y'all got to recognize too, and I apologize to anyone out there who sent me stuff to share and I haven't. But you got to understand, I literally get probably 50 to 100, probably close to 100 emails a day, and that's a combination of stuff from labels and PR companies, and then just bands shooting stuff directly to me. I try to prioritize the stuff that's direct from bands as much as I can, but stuff gets lost. And sometimes stuff ends up in the junk folder too, and I forget to check it. I know I said I was going to edit this video, but now I'm surprised at how many people are on here. So yeah, it's good talking to y'all. Think you'll be the advent if you do a tier list with Septic Flesh. I don't think there's one on YouTube. Well, I do know that Quest for Metal has that on his list for as well, and his will probably be up before mine. But and I'm trying really hard to, I know it's kind of fun for us to compare a list sometimes, but I also try really hard to do lists that particularly Jamie and Quest for Metal are not doing or have already done. Because for one, I like to give you all that variety so that we're all giving you different stuff. And two, I also just don't like being in competition because I'm a very competitive person. And so even though it's all in good fun and we're all friends, there is a certain level for me of like, I want to be above them in the search and stuff when we do that. And it feels kind of icky to me because I don't want to have that mentality. So yeah, it'll be good though, because we'll both have ours up there. And yeah, there aren't as many Septic Flesh videos for sure. Saw Devin Townsend at Red Rocks with Opeth and Gojira. Man, that sounds like a fucking awesome concert. New Tool album next year already. yeah, I'm so sure. We'll see. I mean, they could surprise us. That would be the perfect like troll almost to just like suddenly put out new Tool. I'll believe it when I see it. I will believe when I see it. 10,000 Days to Make, yeah. 10,000 Days still my least favorite Tool album by a long shot. I know that's not always the popular opinion, but what do you like about the new Inquisition album? You should watch my review. I did a full album review where I felt like I got pretty in depth with my thoughts on that. In short, it defied my expectations, really. Like, I love their sound in general because they do have like a very trademark sound with the croakier vocals and then their approach to the guitars too. That they're always like bending the strings so much. I also feel like that sort of defines their sound a lot. And so they do a lot on this one, but then it's in such a more like kind of folky direction almost, I would describe it. It's more like naturistic sounding. It's more like There's still plenty of like Satanism and stuff in the lyrics, but it was interesting to me, and it's very captivating. And yeah, I didn't expect to love it as much as I did, even though I've already been a fan. I have another thing I can do on here too is I can share like albums I actually have on my shelf. You all see behind me. I have like all my favorites from them on here. I love some of their packaging too. And then I've got the last two as well sitting up there. But yeah, and they're all great for kind of different reasons. But this was an interesting album in that it was much more, like I said, kind of folky almost. And I am hoping to pick up a physical copy. It's just harder to do that right now because their distribution kind of blows, partially because, you know, they're probably being given the cold shoulder. Fair enough, by a lot of companies. I don't really have a problem with them doing that because it's their business, their choice, so they can do what they want. What are your thoughts on Decrepit Birth? I haven't listened to a ton of Decrepit Birth, so I just don't really have an opinion on them right now. So I'm just going to keep my eyes open. My kind of New Year's resolution, so to speak, is to listen to a lot more bands that you all are talking about that maybe I haven't spent as much time with. So Harakiri for the Sky was one for sure, and I'm blown away by this new album. I can't wait to share my full review on that, which again, I'm supposed to be editing right now, but now I'm procrastinating. And yeah, just anything else. So, and also like, I'm not a huge Ingested fan, but I checked out the new Ingested EP. I'll have a review for that. I'm going to try to do more symphonic metal, like traditional symphonic metal, things like, oh God, what's the one that everyone's talking about? And we've talked about many times now, Epica. I want to do Epica, probably some others. I might do some power metal too. So I'm going to try to like really expand some of my boundaries this year. Thoughts on the new Havukrunu? I don't even know how to pronounce that album. I have not listened to that, so I'll have to check it out. Again, I'm listening to like new albums every single day, so sometimes things pass me by. So I'll have to check that out. Why are you wearing a mask at home? Because I don't show my full face in any time. I guess somebody could now like take the top half of my face and like composite the lower half of my face and try to figure out my full face, but I'm not going to do that. And then for those coming late too, the reason I'm not wearing my usual mask is because it gets too sweaty to wear for more than like 10-15 minutes at a time. So I'm not going to do it. Do you think Satanism is necessary in black metal? No, I definitely don't. I don't have a problem with it. In fact, I think honestly Satanism kind of gets a bad rap. I'm definitely not a Satanist. I was raised Christian and I still consider myself on some level to be, but you know, Satanists aren't what most people think that they are. And I feel like for the most part, their kind of creed is fine. And as long as they're not hurting anybody, I don't have a problem with it. So I'm fine with I think Satanism, you know, is tied to black metal, obviously, but you can have a black metal band and not be Satanist, of course. Like there are plenty of bands doing that too. So you don't need it. Man, the questions just rolling in. Let's see. Danny Carey said the new Tool record will not be released until 3 years after touring, but this is Danny we're talking about. He tends to get everything wrong. Yeah, I don't know. Great drummer, though. I still wouldn't count on a new one in 2021. Yeah. Don't be shy. Omega D3. Harakiri for the Sky I discovered a month ago, and yeah, I love them now. Man, then wait for this new album, because holy shit. Like an hour and a half. And normally I hate albums that are like, I feel like most albums that go on longer than like 45 minutes tend to be bloated. There's some bands that obviously pull it off, like Opeth and stuff, that can really make every second count. But I looked at that runtime and it was like, fuck this. But I forced myself to do it, and man, I am not regretting it. So I am looking forward to sharing that review. Discovered Hate Forest recently. They made another new album that's going to be out soon. I have not listened to them. You wouldn't be able to become a Slipknot member if you're unable. Yes, that's fair. Hey, and I'm not trying to be. I'm not trying to be at all. So, yeah, I have so much respect for those guys and they talk about it in interviews too. Like they purposely have said in the past that they pick masks that are uncomfortable because it like brings out that more vicious side of them. So, yeah, I mean, I couldn't do it. I wouldn't want to do it. I could probably do it if I really wanted to, but I don't want to. So. Honestly, Satanism in black metal is kind of cheesy now. Yeah, I feel like for most bands it is. I feel like for Inquisition it works because they're like legit Satanists, or at least Dagon is, and so it's like it doesn't come off as corny to me with that because it seems like it feels natural. Whereas with a lot of other black metal bands, it's like, oh, we gotta like shock you with this like satanic imagery, and they like push it too hard, and it becomes really cringy at that point. Do I like the first Slipknot album? If we're talking about the self-titled, then you better believe I do. That is my all-time favorite Slipknot album. Where is it? I'm gonna find it here. Where are you? Where's my baby? That's like my baby too. That's a CD I've owned since, you know, early high school, so it has a special place in my heart. It's one of the albums that got me into metal to begin with. Where are you? Slayer, Slipknot. Here you go. And I got Iowa too. Yeah, these are both among the older metal albums in my collection. And I thought I remembered this disc being like really scratched up and worn out, but you can tell I've used a scratch fixer on it, which is a sign of the times too. Like, when was the last time you had to use a scratch fixer on anything? I also remember my dad. No. Okay, I went to the store and they had these two albums for sale, and my dad said, you can get one and I'll buy it for you. And I picked System of a Down initially, and then later I went back and got Iowa. But all amazing, so good. I'm getting behind the chat now. Y'all coming in too fast. After Fear. Oh, I only like the first two Not albums. Same here. Yeah, those two. And after that, I'm kind of just whatever. I don't hate the newer stuff. Some of it I do. Like, what's that song? Pop, Kill Pop or whatever. That song is just so lame. After Fear Inoculum, I'm not particularly hungry for a new Tool album. All those years, I think it's easily their worst album. They won't be reaching Anima or Lateralis quite late again. I agree with that. I'm always interested to hear what they have. In fact, I even have the really, just being a longtime Tool fan, I did get the crazy like $50 freaking, because I'm a sucker with the visual thing on the inside and everything. Just, it's a cool collector's item, and I enjoy the album. I did a positive review on it. I actually kind of like it better than 10,000 Days in some ways, but yeah, I'm not like super stoked about. If Tool never made another album, I would be perfectly fine with that, because I think they've peaked and they're never going to be that way again. What's some of your favorite non-metal releases this year? Honestly, I've been so bogged down trying to get you all as many like metal and hardcore releases I can that I barely listen to any non-metal. I did listen to some of. I'm a big Aesop Rock fan for when it comes to modern hip hop. He's got a new one. I haven't even listened to the whole thing. From what I've heard, it's really good, and I actually have like most of his other albums on my shelf, so he's really good. And then there's stuff on the radio I've been hearing when I'm like with my daughters and stuff that's actually pretty good. I like the newer stuff I've heard from like Billie Eilish. Like, I think she's pretty talented despite how much shit she gets. And yeah, I don't know what else. What other non-metal have I even listened to this year? Like, I don't even know. It's a lot of it's been passing me by lately. What else do we got here? I see Gary Newman. That they got new. Gary Newman's got new stuff out. Didn't he do something with Nine Inch Nails at one point? I feel like that's ringing a bell. I guess there's new Ghost record releasing next year too. Yes, I believe so. I'm not a big Ghost fan. I respect them greatly. I just not really my style. But if everyone wants me to, I'll probably end up doing a review on it. Few bands that can pull off an amazing album that is over 1 hour and 30 minutes. Swallow the Sun is one of those bands that can do it. Yeah, definitely. Also, I'd put Warforged on that list. I know theirs was like 1 hour and 15, and they probably could have pushed it into like 2 hours, and I would have loved every second of it. Was the least cheesy subgenre of metal? Least cheesy? Ugh. Man, I feel like every subgenre has its own kind of like element of cheese to it. It just depends on the band. I could probably tell you the most cheesy, but I mean the least cheesy. That's really tough, because it's like black metal has like the really cringy, like try hard edgelord people, and then same kind of with death metal, you get the like gore hungry people that are just like retreading all the old Cannibal Corpse stuff and the album covers and 6 Feet Under kind of vibes. And then prog has the really like pretentious, like nose up in the air, smell their own farts type people. hardcore and like mathcore and metalcore have like the elitist type people that really annoy the shit out of me, and I find them to be annoying. So I don't know which one's the least. I think they're all equally cheesy and not cheesy at the same time. So I don't know if I could pick out a subgenre that does not have some of that element in it. That's a great question, though. I never would have thought of that. What else we got? Billy Rules. Yeah, I think I jumped down a little bit. I lost. There we go. Anybody know where to start with Heart of a Coward? I don't know exactly what you're referring to with that. Maybe you could clarify more. Yeah, Slipknot debut is a beast. Yes. Wish they kept that Sane Asylum theme. Yeah, absolutely. It's, man, to this day, honestly, even with the more extreme stuff I listen to now, I will still consider the self-titled Slipknot album to be one of the heaviest albums of all time. And Iowa's really great too, of course. First, second Slipknot albums are good. The rest is mediocre. Yes, interesting. See, without the skull mask, yeah, I know. I made a choice. I kind of wanted to stay more on brand with the mask, but you know, it's whatever. Volume 3 is my favorite Slipknot album. I liked it when it came out, but then like with every subsequent listen, I liked it less. I don't hate that album. It's got some moments on it, but for me, I have such it's a bias. Like I have such fond memories of listening to these first two and that whole era of sound around that time. And then when they went through like volume 3, it's the end of that era and the transition it was sort of like in a way that album sort of signals the end of like the big time for new metal. Obviously there were still some big releases around that time and after, but to me that's sort of like when things started to slope down and away from that, which some people are probably happy about, I'm sure, but I dig that time. It was a great time. Fear Inoculum is the best Tool album because CD packaging is the best they've ever done. That's how we review music nowadays, right? Yeah, I know, right? Seriously. I do also have the classic 10,000 Days packaging with the 3D viewer pane. I thought that was really cool. Yeah, I've got some older albums on this shelf that it's kind of crazy to think how long they've been sitting there. Okay, Billy Rules. I want more Tool, to be honest. I think if I had another year or two in the oven, which is ironic, it would have been a 10 out of 10 in my head, possibly. Shoot, I'm losing my spot again. Man, y'all are just chatting away. I wasn't expecting this. Fear Inoculum grew on me, but they could have cut out at least. Yeah, for sure. It's a bloated album. There are plenty of moments. If they had trimmed it down, it would have made a difference. I don't care for Ghost either. Billy is decent. I see the appeal. I would even go so far as to say she's probably better than Slipknot. New Slipknot, yes, absolutely. She's really talented. She really is. Gary Newman does a great guest spot on a Battle song. Okay. Not a fan of Ghost. I think self-titled and culling voices are guilty bloating the record. Yes, totally. My favorite track on Fear Inoculum is Numa. I love Numa, which even that track could probably be cut down some, but there's something about that song that just puts me in like such a like positive, like motivated state. And yeah, that's my personal favorite there. I enjoy Ghosts, but they're overrated. Yeah. I'd love to see new Deathspell Omega or Mgwa, which I will say correctly now. I got schooled by Metal Forge. They told me it is pronounced Mgwa releases, but those are long shots. Ghost has some good songs like Ipsissimum album, but for most part, Power metal has nerds and geeks. Yeah, for sure. For sure. I love them, though. Folk metal, too. Pyramid Head agree. Thrash has Ninja Turtles. Heart of a Coward is a metalcore band. Literally just started listening to them. I have not heard them. I'll have to check them out. And y'all know I love me some metalcore. I know not everybody here feels the same way, but yeah, I will check out any new metalcore. There was a lot of good metalcore this year, y'all, too. Seriously, metalcore has been in decline for a while, but I feel like it's coming back. The funny thing too is that I feel like the best metalcore albums this year were from the non-legacy bands. Like a lot of legacy bands put out albums that were just kind of okay. Like August Burns Red, love August Burns Red, but of the last 3 or 4 albums they put out, this is easily their worst. It's kind of more bland and generic and didn't really push forwards like the other albums did. But I gotta say, like Neck of the Woods killed it. Polaris, oh my god, that Polaris album is so good. Make Them Suffer was probably my favorite metalcore album this year. There, check out my best metalcore list of 2020 if you haven't checked them out yet. If you like metalcore, like those are by far albums that you need to check out. Slipknot got worse with each album after self-title. Yeah, I agree. Prog metal has many cheesy bands like Dream Theater. Yeah, you know, people love Dream Theater. I respect them greatly, but I just, the vocals in particular, I just can't get into it. I love the bass work, I think, and the drumming, and you know, there's so much good stuff on there, but not for me. I think the new Slipknot record is substantial, though. It's almost as good as Iowa debut. I wouldn't go that far, but it's surprisingly good for what it is, but it's just still so inconsistent. Demo EP by Slipknot is pretty interesting. At actually like a re-release or re-recording. Are you talking about like the original with the old vocalist and everything? The, what is it? Mate, Feed, Kill, Repeat, I think. Is that what you're talking about? What's your favorite Botch album? Well, it's not like they have that many, but I've got that one here too. Where are you at? Born of Osiris. Where is it? Where are you hiding? There you are. We Are the Romans. Fantastic album. If you want some really killer mathcore, hardcore, Botch gets slept on so much. Everybody talks about Norma Jean and Converge and the Dillinger Escape Plan. Nobody fucking talks about Botch, which is... Did I make a video about them? I think I did. I can't remember now, but I think I made a video about Botch. If I haven't, I should, because they are so good. So underrated. Still a fan of Dream Theater and would say they're a top 10 prog band, but even I'll admit they're not the greatest band ever. Yeah, unlike what Jamie Horsley thinks. Jamie Horsley gives everything a 10 out of 10. Look, Jamie, I love you, man. I think you're a cool dude. I like collabing and kind of hitting each other back and forth and everything, but you love things, you know, and you know, you love things a lot. That's great. But I feel like whenever I hear a viewer say that like every album's a 10 out of 10 and Quest for Metal, you're guilty of this too, and I give you shit for it all the time, I sort of like glaze over and check out. I'm like, okay, well then there's no like nuance here. There's no gradating between the releases. Which I have bands like that are harder. Like honestly, I've been putting off doing a Periphery tier list forever because I genuinely do pretty much love all those albums the same, but I'm going to force myself to do it just like I did with the Dillinger Escape Plan. Like I love all those albums, but I forced myself, even though I had to like modify the tier list to do it, to be able to show the order that they need to go in. Like I think I that's just what I like to do. That's my preference. Shit, chat jumped forward again. I find Symphony X and the Ocean Collective to be way better. Yeah, two other bands that I haven't spent a lot of time listening to, but I need to. Those 3 songs are incredible. Also would love new Deathspell. Did I already say that? I think maybe I jumped around here. The intro to Numa, though, is almost identical to POD Southtown. That is such a weird thing, too, because I hadn't thought about that song in a long time, even though it's in my like 90s playlist. But we introduced the kids to Little Nicky last night. And by the way, I got to say, Little Nicky is easily, of the original like Adam Sandler movies, it's the worst. It's the worst one. Like I always felt that way, but rewatching it now, especially, that movie has not aged well. Like it barely made me laugh, and it's just such a jumbled mess. There are moments on it that are really funny, and it's crazy too because they got like Harvey Keitel and Rodney Dangerfield and these big name people to be in it, but it is like a mess of a movie. But anyways, Southtown plays in that movie, so it just played last night, and then for you to bring it up here, that's so random. But yeah, you're kind of right. Like it's the same kind of chord progression, so that's funny. The new Unleash the Archers is amazing, and I'm usually listening to nonstop black metal. Haven't listened to that one either. So many, I mean, it's so hard because like no matter how many albums I listen to, which is a lot, I can never catch them all. Like it's just not possible. Which is another reason, again, I try not to have as much overlap with all the other reviewers that I'm like friends with now. But there's certain things that I just want to talk about that I already know that they're going to talk about. So it's hard, but I'm trying to cover other stuff. Symphony X, Camelot, Fates Warning, Arion, Big Four prog metal bands. Have listened to, I don't think, aside from Camelot and Symphony X, I don't think I've listened to a single song from those other two. Need to check it out. I like the non-legacy acts having a chance. Absolutely. Yeah, that's really like the name of the game with my channel is what I try to do is cover as many non-legacy acts and give them as much of a boost as I can. I got a very nice email, by the way, from shout out to Torrential Downpour. They gave me a big thank you and just like made my day talking about like how many new fans have come and checked out their album seemingly as a result of all the coverage I've been doing on them. And that honestly is the most important metric to me. And the one I can't unfortunately look at in my analytics. I can see watch time, views, subscribes. By the way, subscribe rate is out of control right now, y'all. I have to thank you all so much for the momentum. I gained 450 subscribers in the last 28 days. That's insane. But even like aside from that, the most important analytic or metric for me is, did somebody go out and spend money on a band as a result of seeing my video? Because to me, that's always the ultimate goal for me is getting people to check out those bands, especially the ones that don't get as much attention. So yeah, totally. I actually like the higher pitched vocals of the two that exist. Yeah, I love Botch so much. Yeah, Botch is great, and they just deserve so much more attention. Oh, Quest for Metal's in here. I wonder if he caught my rant about him. That's funny. It'd be good timing. Been really enjoying the trap metal bands, Dropout Kings, Hacktivist, Bone Crew, Metalcore with some stand. Yeah, it's interesting. I've been liking it more with Deathcore, like especially with Within Destruction, Yokai. That was a very interesting album that I also have with their last two over here. I think I put a picture on the Instagram of that one. And then yeah, there's shoot, I wish I could shout them out, but I'm forgetting their name right now. But I did a reaction to one of their videos at their request, and they're kind of fun, and they're actually like in my area, kind of like Seattle, Portland area. And I'm just forgetting the name of them right now, and it bothers me because I would love to give them a shout out for people to check out. But check my I have a playlist for my reaction videos, and there's one that's very obviously like a trap video. I think it has like a big booty in the thumbnail and everything with the with I think it even says like trap on the thumbnail. So go look for that and check them out because they're pretty good. I respect Dream Theater, but there are some places where they are overindulgent, making it complicated for the sake of being. I don't even know why I'm wearing the headphones because I'm not even editing right now. It's hurting my ears. Make it complicated for the sake of being complicated, where I feel like prog should be fun. You did the Mathcore for Dummies video. Yes, and that's where, yes, thank you. That's where I put Botch. I hated the original vocalist for Dream Theater because he sounded like a dollar store Geddy Lee. Nice. Good old Geddy Lee. In Geddy Lee we trust. I do love Dillinger. Yes. Quest for Metal gives everything a 10 out of 10 too. He does. That's why he doesn't do reviews. That's the secret, isn't it? Quest for Metal. You don't do it because everything would just be a 10 or a 0. Omega Death 3. Yeah, Charlie is awful. Quest for Metal. Hee. Yes. Hi, Quest for Metal. If you're still in here. Pyramid Head, except Queensryche. Have you heard of an old school female fronted Finnish power metal band from Helsinki, Finland called Synergy? I don't think so. Again, I don't listen to a lot of power metal in general, and especially like I love female fronted like death metal and black metal and hardcore. But for some reason, that like kind of power metal, symphonic metal sound with the operatic vocals, I love it implemented into the larger framework of like Septic Flesh or Flesh God Apocalypse. But by itself, it starts to like grate on my ears sometimes. But I'm gonna try to check more of that out. So I'll have to keep my eyes peeled for Synergy. Know some Indonesian metal bands. Yes, not off the top of my head, but I just covered some on the Best Bands on Bandcamp series, in particular the one I just recorded on Friday that will be up in not this Friday, but the Friday after that. There was an Indonesian band on there, as I recall. I've been getting more requests out of that area. It's kind of cool. They've got a really neat scene going on over there. The new metal DT era also didn't help either. I hated it when Lebris started cupping the mic and started rapping, laughing my ass off. Yeah, it happens. It happened to like it is funny, like every band at that time you started to hear that sound, like none of them necessarily became new metal bands, but like you look at Machine Head, you even look at Fear Factory during that time and you hear elements of that stuff creeping in. And so it's a very interesting time for metal overall. Does anyone find it's better when the vocalist can do cleans and uncleans? If they can only scream, they're a lot more replaceable unless they've got a tone of charisma and write most of the stuff. Yes, I totally agree with that. I'm a big vocal guy. I think for me, it's always kind of like guitars and vocals are always like the top of whether or not I'll even listen to something. And when it comes to giving a higher score, I do tend, if you look at my reviews, you'll notice that I tend to give higher scores to things that have more vocal variety, and not only just cleans and uncleans, but like the whole spectrum and like a lot of different types of screaming. That's something I loved about the new Tala album. And if you haven't listened to my interview, I know I'm shilling the hell out of different videos during this, but that's what I do. I'm a fucking shill, y'all. I don't know if you know this, but I'm on the hustle. Okay, I'm on my grind 24/7. But anyways, check out my interview with Justin from Tala. He's a vocal coach in addition to being this crazy vocalist, and he does so much on that record. It's crazy. He's got like the gurgles, the breeze, the death growls, the hardcore sounding vocals, the snarls. He does this crazy moment where he transitions from like a brie like into this like high pitched like vocal fry. He told me it's not a vocal fry, but he knows all the terminology and everything. Check them out. They're nuts. Like I love a good vocalist. That's something I value about the new metal era too, honestly, because even though the musicianship wasn't maybe the most technical or crazy or anything, they had a lot of cool vocalists like Jonathan Davis and Corey. Like they did a lot of interesting things with their vocals that were instantly recognizable that I really respect and think are important. But of course, the greatest vocalist of our generation is Mike Patton, hands down. No matter what project he's in, like I will always be down for a Mike Patton project. Honestly, for 2020, I barely gave 10 out of 10s except for The Ocean, Collective, Code Orange, Pain of Salvation, Ulcerate, and Imperial Triumphant. I don't think I gave a single 10 out of 10 this year. I don't think I did last year either. I try to really reserve that spot, which is why I like doing the 3 scales, because it kind of forces me to not do that, especially with that innovation scale. I know some people complain that I give so many 7s on innovation, but that's what makes sure that I only give those perfect scores to albums that absolutely deserve it. So that's part of the reason I do that. I do want to say I appreciate your channel. I'm always digging for new material and you help with that. That's what I'm here for. That's what I really strive for. So that I appreciate that. I watched Billy Madison recently. Big Daddy and Happy Gilmore are classics. So I love Billy Madison. That movie is intensely stupid, but it's so funny to me. Like there are moments on there that just still make me die laughing. But yeah, and then Happy Gilmore is a close second. I also really like The Wedding Singer. Wedding Singer is a solid movie that still holds up pretty well, I would say. Damn it, the chat jumped forward again. I'm talking too much, so I'm falling even more behind. I always watch other people's streams and I'm like, why are you so behind on the chat? And now I see like it's just impossible to keep up. Here we go. Rust funny because I find Panther to be their weakest record, and I'm a big POS fan. I'd give it a 7 out of 10. I feel bad for a band that has POS as their acronym because that's also a piece of shit. Quest for Metal, I love you, by the way. We all love Quest for Metal. Like, honestly, all joking aside, I am so impressed with Quest for Metal's growth and the amount of views he's able to get and just how natural he is, or if you're here, you are on screen. Like you just like seem like you were born to do this. So mad props for that. I'm not a fan of POS. I love the new Ocean record, but I found the last one to be way better. My top album this year is Cosmic World, Mother by and Oceans. Yeah. I wasn't either for a while. I decided to keep listening to them because I was in awe of Gildenlow's voice. That's a lovely name. I actually loved it a lot, though it was a huge improvement over their few records before. I gotta say also props to you, Metal Trenches, because your videos are spot on and show me more music to get into. Too often people don't thank the actual creators, so thank you. Thank you so much. Like, that honestly means a lot. It brings a little tear to my eye. I'm not even joking. Like, when I get those positive emails and comments and stuff, it honestly means the world to me. Because being honest, like, it's a lot of work to get this stuff together. Like, it doesn't always take me like hella long, but considering I'm balancing a full-time job, 3 kids, house to take care of, cleaning, all that stuff, it can get hard. So, and helps me keep going to know that it means something. Do you like Marduk? Yes, I do. I'm more into their earlier stuff. I've kind of fallen off of them and haven't listened to as much of their newer stuff, so I'd probably need to check them out again. Yokai is great. Yes, Slovenian deathcore. That is correct. The squatting Slavs of deathcore, as I always put it, because that was on one of their press releases at one point, and I loved it. They have a great band photo of them all squatting too. Production-wise, Pain of Salvation is not the best overall, but their songwriting and Daniel I find to be amazing. Honestly, you should dedicate a video to lesser-known mathcore bands like Cave In, Botch, Dead Guy, and Car Bomb. Yes, I want to include Car Bomb in another video. I do have that interview with the guitarist, which was really fun, so you can check that one out. And like we said, Botch is in the Mathcore for Dummies video. But yeah, I have not covered Cave In or Dead Guy. Honestly, I haven't listened to a lot of Dead Guys, so I need to get into that. I know they're kind of like legends in their own right. Blackwater Rust, you're definitely right. I think the band concurs with your sentiment as well, hence the remixes of their older albums. Metal Meltdown, hello there. Most metal bands definitely had a new metal period. Worth noting, even hip-hop artists started crossing over. Cough, cough, Vanilla Ice, yes. Fun times. Interesting times. Yes, also hello. Yeah, this is fun. Again, I was just going to edit the video and maybe dick around and see if a handful of people came in here, but it's fun talking with you all. It's been kind of a rough morning too, so it's putting me in a good mood. What are some bands that you fell off of for me? Infinite Annihilator and Cataclysm. I was the opposite. I did not. Everyone raved about Infinite Annihilator constantly. And it was one of those things where it was like hyped so much that I just kind of ignored it. And then Battle of however you pronounce it came out, and holy shit, that album is amazing. So I'm reverse. Like, if you haven't listened to that album, you need to get back into Infinite Annihilator, because that album's freaking crazy. Definitely probably the best deathcore album of last year. It's almost, it's so technical, you almost can't call it deathcore at this point. It's just like straight up technical death metal. What up at the Metal Meltdown? I do tend to give high scores to bands that are weird and creative. Absolutely. I mean, you look at my top 20 of the year list. If you haven't watched it already, you'll notice there's a lot of weird stuff on there. Cult of Lilith, Igor. Honestly, I almost put Poppy on there just because that album is just batshit. And then what else? Shoot, I'm like blanking on names right now. The one that sounds like Meshuggah but with synths, and it's dual vocalists with a female vocalist and a male vocalist. I have the album on my shelf too, but Humavoid. Yeah, it's good stuff. Like, I love that weird innovative stuff. That's why I have the innovation scale. Torrential Downpour too, like, they're pretty bad shit. Mike Patton is not only a human piano, he is like the man with 1,000 voices. Yes. And by the way, one of my favorite games of all time, The Darkness on Xbox 360, the original one. Mike Patton does the voice of the like demon thing that's possessing you. Not only is it a fun game, but his voice acting on that is just insane. It's so good. It's almost like listening to one of his albums. So I encourage you, if you can get a used copy of that, which they're pretty cheap to find, definitely play that game. Or if you can like download it from the store or something. I've been mostly playing old games now because I haven't bought the new console yet, and I refuse to play Cyberpunk on my Xbox One because I know that the Xbox One and PS4 versions look like garbage. So I'm just going to wait on that. I actually rebought, because it was on sale, the BioShock collection on the Switch. And so I've just been replaying all those, and man, those are still some of my favorites. By the way, BioShock 2 gets a lot of bad rap, but that is a great game. Like, honestly, replaying them, I replayed them backwards. I think BioShock 2 is better than BioShock Infinite, and that may seem like a hot take. I went into it thinking I was going to like that one the least, but honestly, Bioshock Infinite, I liked the least replaying, even though I really enjoyed it the first time. Yeah, he is immaculate. Gildan Low is number 2. Beer for Megadeth, which is what I'm going to call you now. I assume maybe that's how you pronounce that. Mike Patton is Inhuman on those first Bungle records, dude, and everything else he did. Listen to freaking Phantomus. Those Phantomus records are insane. I feel the same way. Too many metalheads are too quick to be like big heavy riff. Me like 11 out of 10. Yeah, and I hate the thing I hate the most too, honestly, and I try not to engage with it. But it does really, it's a pet peeve of mine, is standing. When people like stan a band to the point that like, oh, their new album's coming out, it's a 10 out of 10, and they haven't even listened to it yet. That shit drives me crazy. And then people are like, oh yeah, I already know this is going to be the best album of the year. I'm like, no, you fucking don't. No, you don't. Shut your mouth. You don't know that. You haven't heard it. You can't judge something like, and then if you're going into the album with that mentality, like you're going to have a bias. So I really try not to do that. Like it's hard. You're going to have bias no matter what. And there are certain albums I go into with a really positive feeling. Some I go into with a really negative feeling already, but I try to extract myself from that as much as possible. And again, that's why I started using the 3 scales to kind of force myself to really think about it more deeply than that. But yeah, that's so, I hate that. And when especially when fans get mad that you don't like the band's latest album, even though you're a huge fan, I still get people jumping down my throat for not loving Gore. It's like, dude, it's just an opinion. If you love Gore, that's great. Like, I'm not going to hold that against you. I just think it's a boring record, and that's fine. Shut the fuck up. Like, relax. Are you that fragile that you can't allow somebody else to have a different opinion on something? Jesus Christ. I like the Bandcamp score too, definitely. Laughing at the Metal Meltdown. Mike Patton and John Zorn is match made in avant-garde heaven. Yeah, I have not spent enough time with that stuff in particular, and I got a lot of shit for that when I did my Mike Patton tier list way back when. I just put all that stuff in the I don't know category, and everyone's like, "How are you going to rate Mike Patton and not listen to the John Zorn albums?" And I'm like, "Fair enough. Maybe that was a misstep on my part." Like to recommend some shit. Dang it. I'd like to recommend some Indonesian metal bands: Revenge the Fate, Deathcore, and Burger Kill Metalcore. I love Burger Kill. That's a great name. Mike Patton is the one vocalist I listen to. My mom doesn't actually mind. Has to be the old school covers like Easy. Oh man, that Easy cover is great, dude. I could listen to that Easy. I'm easy. I'm easy like Sunday morning. Yeah, that's a great, great. That's originally is it Guy Ritchie, I think, does the original version? I'm forgetting. I started a joke because Italian pup covers too. Yes. White X Him may have helped Quest for Metal's growth. Is that from a collab or something? I'm not even sure who that is. Tell me more. Hey, my dad's here. That's funny. Hey, Dad. Merry Christmas early. That's hilarious. I was not expecting him to jump on this. This is great. Now I'm embarrassed for talking so freely sometimes, but I'm a grown ass man, so it's okay. Mike Patton has pretty much done every genre of music. Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy. Even dang it, what's his like pop Peeping Tom? That pop project he did. That's a really cool one too. I need more Panopticon. Yes, and more yes. I love Panopticon. I felt like they didn't need to do that double album last time. In fact, I appreciate that they offered the album in multiple formats, and one of them was just the one disc with just the black metal songs, and that's what I got because I wasn't all down for like the really political acoustic songs. I'm fine that they made that, and some people really liked it, but that wasn't really what I wanted. So it was kind of nice to be able to just buy the single disc copy. What's your favorite band? Holy cow. I don't know if I could pick one, man. That's so hard now because like they're also different. I mean, the one that always pops into my head, I mean, Deftones instantly popped into my head because I've just been listening to them for so long and I love almost every album. So yeah, they come to mind. 9 Inch Nails comes to mind, but I don't like their newer stuff. Like they're one that I kind of wish that that Trent had just ended it and let it be over. because it seems like he's just so much more focused on a different sound right now that, just do the soundtracks because they're really cool and all that stuff. But that's kind of pulled it down a little bit. Enslaved is probably up there. I guess it would be kind of easier for me to give it like almost by subgenre. So Enslaved's my favorite like black metal band, even though they're more like a prog band, but they're probably like my favorite prog band too, up there with like Opeth. For death metal, ugh, I don't know if I could pick a favorite death metal band. I don't know. It's really hard. Poison the Well always come to mind too, even though they only have a couple of albums. They're my favorite metalcore band of all time. Being able to talk to the drummer, Chris Hornbrook, on the podcast was really surreal, honestly. And he's just such a cool guy and just a nice guy. So those are some like top of mind ones that pop into my head. Do you think metalcore is a real metal genre? Yeah, it is. I don't even really like that discussion about whether something's metal or not. But if you'll notice, my intro is, hey, heavy metal music, metal and heavy music fans. I throw in the metal and heavy so that I don't even have to have that argument, because people will argue day and night about whether something's metal or not. But whether or not something is heavy is more objective, I would say. So that's actually partially why I include that in the intro. Favorite side projects, even though I hate the term, Blacklight Burns. Man, that's a throwback. Love and Death, Kill or Be Killed. Yes, that new one's really good. And Mike Patton stuff are my favorite. Little budding YouTube community is super awesome. Yes, Meltdown, Trenches, Quest for Metal, Horsley. Throw in Metal Forge reviews too, by the way. Like they're inching up on their first 1,000 subscribers, and I think they have really good times ahead of them. I love their editing. I love their style. I love the stuff that they cover. I love that they are really digging into a lot of underground stuff. So I'm excited to kind of welcome them in as well. But thank you. Think you're as much metal fans as coming in. You're creating new fans with your content and charisma. Thank you so much. I've tried to get into battle, and while I do think it's better than the previous two, it's just not that great and it's overrated. Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. Different opinions. I love it, but it's whatever. Igor introduced me to Venetian Snares. Yeah, dude, Igor is just like one of a kind. That guy, I would love to talk to him. In fact, I think I tried to set up an interview and we just couldn't make it work. So hopefully in the future at some point. I used to love punk. Now I just don't think it's good. I still love both punk and pop punk. I love like actual punk, like Dead Kennedys, Bad Religion, that kind of stuff. And then I also have a whole shelf of like Blink-182, The Story So Far, Dropkick Murphys, MXPX, old Green Day. I don't like the newer Green Day stuff, but like Dookie. Dookie was one of my first CDs I ever owned. I got that for my birthday. So yeah, I love that stuff. Lost my spot again because the chat keeps jumping forward. Trying to catch up here. At Coder Chase, Beers. God, Cyberpunk was just horrendous on my PS4. I am so sorry that you bought it on your PS4. This is again why I looked at reviews, because I heard it just looks so bad. Just like unforgivable. I want to put that unforgivable clip, if y'all remember that classic YouTube video. I actually have that sitting in my queue of clips I want to use in future reviews, but I just haven't found the right place for it yet. Corpse Grinder being a part of the new Igor was sick. Yeah, that track, Parpang, banger, banger. Even bands such as Helmet and Dead Kennedys, bands I used to love, kind of fell off for me. Yeah, I mean, you go through phases. I thought I was going to give Titan by Septic Flesh album of the year, but then I decided to give that an album decade to Neoblivis Scaris for their album Citadel. Hey, and they deserve the recognition for that album for sure. I love Titan. Can't wait to talk more about those albums in that tier list, but I will say I feel like that is a sorely unfairly maligned album. I hear so many people like crap on that album, and I just don't understand it, because that is a fantastic album. What was the first album you ever bought? If we're talking about like my own money and going out and buying it at the store, I actually don't remember. I do recall, again, the first physical album I ever was gifted. This is funny. So, and I mentioned this in a review I think I recorded, but isn't out yet. But I got Dookie and the first Britney Spears album together on one birthday. Good times. Yeah, that comes to mind. Everclear's So Much for the Afterglow was one that I got early on too that I always think of. But as far as like going out and buying it with my own money, I'm not sure about that. Probably some new metal album, I would guess. Um, but that might not. No, you know what? That's not true. I'm sure I bought like a rap album, something like Nelly or some shit like that. Yeah, I can't remember. I wish I could. It's fun to think about though. Only punk bands I like are Bad Religion, Against Me, Minor Threat, and Bad Brains. Man, Bad Brains. Honestly, Bad Brains is almost like too weird for me. Like I've tried so many times to get into Bad Brains, and I again respect the heck out of them, but their sound is not for the faint of heart for sure. Do you enjoy Funeral Doom? Funeral Doom, I'm sorry, it just bores me to tears. There have been some things on the again best of Bandcamp videos I've come across that I was pleasantly surprised where I was like, hey, this is actually pretty good. I could get into this. But generally, Funeral Doom just bores me so much. I like Fast and Hard for the most part. Deftones' new album is okay, but is overrated. I could argue that Ohms is overrated. I love it, and there's a reason why I put it on my top 10 of the year. But yeah, I mean it's no White Pony. I'll say that it's no White Pony. People would nut over it no matter what it sounded like. I think for some people that's true, but I think there were people that genuinely went out disappointed by that album, who wanted it to be better than it was. So I don't think that's a generalization I would make. Cyberpunk was mediocre. Only Keanu stands and CDPR fans enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to playing it at some point, but I just have so little gaming time now, which is why I bought stuff on the Switch because I can play that anywhere, like when we're upstairs or whatever. I almost never get the TV. The kids always have the TV. I don't know if it's just me, but I find The Oblivious Scars to be incredibly boring and overrated. That's fair. You're not the only one. Blackwater Rust, I understand. I love you guys. I love how like amenable you are to each other. Like you're so nice to each other. And when we talk shit, it's all in good fun. So I like that a lot. Let's see. Blackwater Rust, it's Opeth, but with a violin. I mean, that's kind of true. Cyberspunk hard crash for me 12 times. Yes, I've been hearing that too. Like, this is partially why you're not seeing as many people streaming it either, too, because imagine if it crashes that much just playing it, imagine trying to play it through like OBS and streaming. Like, no, it just doesn't work. So there's been a few people I've seen doing it, but I think they're mostly uploading like highlights later. So yeah, I'm just gonna wait until they fix all that shit and I have the new console. Solstice is garbage except for one album. That's a hot take. I've never really gotten into them. Chris really likes them a lot, so he's been reviewing most of that stuff. I'm really glad to have Chris on board. By the way, I wish I could have him on more. I like that he's doing some interviews now, but he's just such a cool guy that I hope you all get to know more and more. And check out his written reviews on the site, seriously, because he's a really thoughtful guy and he likes really great stuff. And he likes a lot of different stuff than I do, so you'll get even more variety. Enslaved, Opeth, Megadeth, Catatonia, Death, my favorite metal bands. Great choices. Dang it, I lost my spot again. Quest for Metal, working as intent. Wait, I'm too far forward. Quest for Metal sounds like you have the one working copy. That's a good one. I like that. Quest for Metal, I could barely create a character without issues and couldn't get through the tutorial. Did it crash after you made your PP? Was it a PP crash? Quest for Metal, working as intended. Yeah, seriously. Cube Punk, I gave up on within an hour. Hated it. Solstice is the Kings of Leon of metal. Hey, I could kind of see that. Interesting. They bore me to sleep. Just as you get into a story mission or start enjoying the combat, something has to go and ruin it. I'll stick to Cooking Mama. Good choice. Death is so great and so underrated here in Germany. Never saw Chuck Schuldiner in any big German guitar magazine. I'm big sad for you, my man. Thanks for sharing that. Igor does avant-garde right. Liturgy does not. Yep. I would agree with that. I'm not a big Liturgy fan. To me, like, a great avant-garde artist, and people will disagree with me on this because some people say like avant-garde is just supposed to be freeform and whatever. But like again, thinking about my three scales, like you can have a 10 on innovation, but if I don't enjoy listening to it and the other scales are butt, then you're not worth my time. So to me, a really great musician can balance all of those things, like interesting musicianship, different kind of sound that other people aren't doing, and still making it catchy in some way. To me, that's the hardest thing to do. And so that's what I always strive for. And I think Igor does a pretty good job of that. Are metal elitists going to finally admit new metal is a classic style of metal? I think they have. I honestly think they have. There's still people out there that want to, be edgeboards and, edgelords and crap on it. But honestly, every interview I've done, even with like extreme metal artists out there, they all love new metal now. Like they all just accept that it was a big part of our history and, how we came up. And it's an important movement in the overall history. So yeah, I think people have gotten over that. I think people still see metalcore as a little bit of a bad name. And this trap metal stuff, I think, is the new like thing that people are having a really hard time with. And also pop metal stuff like Poppy. But you got to get over it. Like the winds are going to shift where they're going to shift, and that's just the way of things. So there's no point getting all pissy about it. Props to trying to even answer the favorite band question. I usually just say my band. Nice. I don't have a band right now, so I don't have time. Post metal is garbage. Yikes. Not my favorite genre, but there are some good post metal bands. I'll bet Omega Death there are some post metal bands I could probably get you into. I'm willing to bet. It would be a task, but I've come across some good ones. Gotta go out into the plague lands. Y'all stay safe. Thanks for the chat. Thanks for being here, Oliver. Appreciate you. I like Cult of Luna, Isis, Neurosis. When it comes to post metal, I have not checked out much more. Godflesh is overrated, though. I could agree with that. Who is your favorite cousin? Oh, that's it. This is my cousin Jake. Hey, Jacob. Welcome. Obviously, Jake is my favorite cousin. Yeah, good times. We bought you. We sing silly songs. Oh, fun. So was that my first album? Is that what you're saying? I'm so far behind the chat now. Esoteric is my favorite funeral doom metal band. I haven't listened to a lot of Esoteric, so I'll check them out. Cyberpunk is fun but glitchy. I used to be huge into fast technical death metal until I got into Catatonia and Sleep. I'm not into either of those bands. Again, too slow, too dreary for me. The new patch made it a lot better, but it still does every few hours PC Master Race. Yeah, I mean, you can't beat PC gaming, but also forget trying to keep up with the technology. Like I gave up on that long ago, having to upgrade your cards all the time and get a new PC half the time. It's just too expensive. I just prefer console gaming. First album I bought was Limp Bizkit, Greatest Hits. It wasn't even an album, it was the Greatest Hits. That's great. I love that. Can't remember the first album I was gifted, either Michael Jackson Bad or Nellyville. Yes, I did have, I don't think it was Nellyville. I think it was the album before that. What's that Nelly album with like we going down, down, baby. I'm gonna get like copyright struck if I say that, but you know what I'm talking about. The one with that song on it, I think was the one I had. And the one about like you want to take a ride with me, freewheeling in the I can't sing like Nelly, so it's cringy, I'm sure, but that's the one that I had. Catatonia, I wouldn't consider post metal. They're like progressive gothic metal. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Got to tune out, finishing making my own videos. Message me up. We got to make something that'll piss everyone off. Yes, that'll be fun. Absolutely, Metal Meltdown. I've been wanting to do something with you for a while. We can also talk mental health too, because that was another thing that came up. Something everyone will love. Yes, aha. Okay. Well, thank you for being on Metal Meltdown. Really appreciate you. I think most of the metal elitists recognize the importance of jump forward again. New metal in introducing fans to metal, even if they feel the music is campy. Do you have an opinion on metal vinyl purchasing? Feels like you have to pre-order things without hearing it because it most likely, oh man, this is a big topic, y'all. The people who buy up every variant of an album, either way too, because I see these collector sites, either they're doing it because they like collecting every variant, or they buy up all of them and then they're reselling them at an inflated price. To me, these people are just as bad as the Ticketmaster people. The people who just hike up the prices on everything. Because it's like, look, our community is tough enough to get some of the stuff that we truly love. And for people that go out and stand in the way, like on some level, I get like it's nice for the band because it's almost guaranteeing they're selling out on their merch and they're making the money that they need to make. But at the same time, it's really effing people over. It wouldn't bother me as much if they were like buying them and then like selling them at the same price, but they're hiking the price up, and that just it's like it just seems wrong to me. So that's really annoying. And I love physical media, as you can see behind me. I wish I could buy more vinyl, but I just can't afford it. So I still just stick with CDs. But yeah, it's really frustrating. I agree with you, Neil. Catatonia is progressive gothic metal now, but I got into them with their death doom phase. Every trap metal song lyrics. Favorite vocalist changes: Faith No More, Killswitch Engage. I tend to prefer Jesse actually, but I like Howard plenty. Anthrax. I don't like Anthrax at all either, honestly, regardless of vocalists. But yeah, that's fair. I hear a lot of that argument too. Escape the Fate, North Lane. I reckon they suck before Marcus joined. Sorry. Great. Now I just sneezed into my mask, so that's lovely. Question: do you know the band Architects? Do you have to be living in a cave at this point and not at least know who Architects are? So yes, absolutely. I love Architects, especially just grab that one too, since I've just been in a grabbing albums kind of mood. Where are you at? Here we go. For anyone who is thinking about getting into Architects, this is the album you want. Lost Forever, Lost Together. This is the best album they've ever made, in my opinion. Such a banger. The one after that is good too, but it's been kind of downhill after that. I hated their latest album. I guess it's not fair to say I hated it. I did not particularly like the newest album, and based on the singles I'm hearing for the new one, I have a feeling I'll be lukewarm on this one too, but I plan on reviewing that one for sure. I am a fan. Trap metal probably have the worst lyrics. Yeah, probably. Jake says my PC is 10 years old and still does well. Put a lot of money into it and your computer will be good for a while. Yeah, I'm just more of a laptop guy at this point. I mean, I got a good deal on this like gaming laptop pavilion. I don't even use it for gaming. I just use it for like editing and stuff, but it gets the job done, and then I just game on the consoles. Dad, yes, your first album. Want me to play your band performance from junior high school talent show? We should do that sometime, honestly. I just need to, I can probably just upload it to the computer and I'd do it. I think that would be fun. And yes, Jacob rules. Blackwater Rust, Amorphous After 1,000 Lakes, Pussy Era, and Tommy Era are both amazing singers. I do like Amorphous's. Look, I'm actually caught up on the chat. Look at me. Like Amorphous's first, second albums, they are just death metal, but they became special after 1,000 Lakes. At Neil Crabtree, I think due to the vinyl revival, we'll see more print in demand vinyl services that allow bands to increase vinyl supply easily. Unlike concert tickets, you can print more vinyls. This is true. School will copyright you. Yes. They probably will, Jake. That's a good point. If I play my high school, the way copyright is right now, oh my God, especially on YouTube. Yeah, somehow they will copy strike me for them owning that performance somehow. Worst Dillinger album. You got to check out my tier list, man. You gotta give me that view. You got to give me that watch time. Check it out. I'm not going to say it here. I'm going to be mean. Go check out my Dillinger Escape Plan tier list, and you'll find out. I'll spoil that. I tell you my least favorite one at the very beginning, actually. So guess you can kind of guess from that, I suppose. But yeah, check that out. That being said, I have totally been FOMO purchasing vinyls. So yeah, for sure. Worst Septic Flesh album. That tier list is coming soon. It's definitely in the first half of their career. And I'm forgetting off the top of my head. I kind of had two tied for worst. but I'll just say for now, it's in their earlier albums. I don't like their earlier stuff as much, the pre-breakup stuff, because it's more like doomy. And y'all know me, I'm not as about that personally. Calculating Infinity is still like a very high C tier and low B tier, though. Yeah, I mean, Calculating Infinity is a classic. Don't get me wrong, but they have so many better albums. So yeah, I mean, they need to. People just need to recognize that. Mine is Revolution DNA. You know, I will say, re-listening to Revolution DNA, I expected to not like that one that much, but I kind of like it. I kind of like it actually. It's grown on me, so maybe give it a re-listen because I had not listened to it in a long time, and I went back and listened to it. What are your thoughts on the evolution of deathcore? I love it. I think deathcore is in like its most exciting time right now, honestly, because besides its original inception, I love the early like Whitechapel and Suicide Silence phase, but it's so like that blueprint is just so tired at this point. So when I hear deathcore bands just doing that same thing, I'm out. Like I'm just like, this is boring. Like I've heard all this before. There's not much more you can do with that. So to hear now some of these deathcore artists that are getting proggier, getting more technical, implementing things like trap into their music, fusing various other styles and instrumentation, that's what's exciting to me. So I think that deathcore is in a very cool renaissance right now that I'm interested to see where it goes. I would love to see Greg Puciato and Mike Patton to work together on something. Dude, bro, bruh, that would be amazing. I would love that. Dictatorship is the mediocre is the only Septic Flesh song I hate. Okay. There any slower bands you like? Yes. Um it's harder to have them like top of mind. The slowest one that popped into my head that I can think of is there's this band called Doomed, Doomed, and they are just like a straight up doom band, and they even have some kind of funeral doom vibes at times. They're more death doom, I guess I would say, but still just very slow. You can find them on Bandcamp. They're a little bit lesser known, and I'm forgetting the name of the album that I really liked from them, but they have a couple. But I just love their aesthetic, and they've got these cool little like melodies they kind of fuse into it, these little hooks that kind of keep it interesting the whole time. But yeah, that's one that comes to mind. I almost have to like look in my iTunes. But yeah, there's slow bands that I like. It's just in general, I tend to prefer listening to stuff. Dogs are barking, so people may be home, so I may need to jump off of here to do some other stuff. I haven't gotten a text or anything, so I'm not sure. Could just be delivery or something. We'll see. Dick, what else do we say? If you have minimal information on metal, who would you listen to? Oh, like for opinions? Me? No, I mean, yeah, honestly, me, Quest for Metal, all the people who have been in the chat really. Banger does a decent job. I like how they do their kind of like release radar at the beginning of the month too, and they'll kind of let you know what to check out. Also just going on Bandcamp and clicking the like recommended tab or whatever it's called, the explore tab, and looking at like it'll show you what's popular at the time, and there's usually really good stuff in there. So that might be a good place as well. I'm surprised there isn't more OSDM hardcore deathcore like Zabalba. Yeah, Zabalba do have kind of a interesting, unique sound. Dropkick them. What do you think of Lorna Shore? I like Lorna Shore. I don't love Lorna Shore. I don't have like a major opinion on them. I thought their last album was good, but highly overrated. People were acting like it was the most amazing thing. I will tell you, I just put together a review for next year that I think does everything that album was trying to do better, and absolutely loved it. So some people might be able to guess what that is, but you'll just have to wait and see that review. Here's what I predict. Your worst Septic Flesh album is going to be A Fallen Temple. I actually can't remember right now. You might be right. I think that was in there, but we'll see. I don't want to spoil it. For metal noobs, check out R Metal 101. So on Reddit, you can also go to R Metal, shred it. I have a vendetta against them a little bit because they like won't let me post my shit there. But no, they do a good job with a lot of cool stuff there. Lorna Shore bores me. Yeah, certain songs they definitely do. They have certain songs that are bangers and then others that are like pretty darn solid. So I think they have a lot of potential. But yeah. Yeah, we'll see where they go. I can't believe I finally caught up in the chat. I just got an email showing me my thumbnail for this video. That is something else, isn't it? What else we got here? All right, we've gotten to the chat. Can I post my stuff where? At that Reddit? No, they don't like. You might be able to. I mean, that is something I'd encourage you all to do is if the main rule is no self-promotion. And so if you're posting my stuff, it's not self-promotion. So that would help me out a lot if people are posting my stuff there. Some of them also have rules against like we don't want reviews, we don't want reaction videos, whatever. So you got to be careful of that. But yeah, if you're posting someone else's stuff, it's usually you're better off than if you're posting your own. All right, I am going to, since I caught up with the chat, I'm going to try to edit this video a little bit while we go along. So if I get quiet in certain parts, it's because I'm messing around with that and just syncing up the audio. Oh, good. All right. Audio is synced. Dude, I'm so stoked to share some of these upcoming reviews with you all. I don't like self-promotion. You know, I know a lot of people feel that way, Blackwater, but honestly, like I said, I have no qualms against shilling and hustling and grinding. Like I will post my stuff everywhere. I know that puts some people off. I respect that. But at the end of the day, like if it even just gets one person who is like, wow, this is really cool and now I want to watch more of this, to me it's worth it. Like I'll take all the hate from everybody else if it leads to that. A lot of people on metal memes are losers. Oh yeah, man. Dude, honestly, metalheads are some of the worst memers that I know out there too. Like, so, because I want to do more, like metal meme reactions because I did one of those a while back. But just to be frank, a lot of it that I see is just normie, unfunny garbage, and maybe some of my stuff falls into that category too. But I feel like they could put a whole lot more effort into it, and there's like so many opportunities to make good ones. You got lucky with the upload of your ohms review. Yeah, right time, right place. And part of what helped, I think, honestly, was that Deftones Reddit said like they put it to kind of a vote to the community of whether or not they were going to allow the review to be posted. And that actually, I think, brought more attention to it. So a ton of people watched it. And I'm indebted to them for allowing me to post it there. So that really helped. Who said Lorna Shore boring? Flesh Coffin is the best deathcore ever. Blackwater said they're boring. And again, hey, this is a place where people are allowed to have their opinions, so don't get upset about that. If you think Lorna Shore is the most exciting band ever, good for you. That's great. Metalheads are terrible at memeing. Yes. Oh my gosh. I like to think that I've put some pretty good ones out there that have gone actually kind of viral on like Facebook and stuff, and I'm proud of those. But the bottom line is just put some effort into it. Like that's all I ask. Yeah, a lot of it's just copy paste. Deathcore bores me to tears whenever I hear a breakdown where it's just holding the first fret. Yes, that exactly. I hate that. What are your favorite metal YouTubers? I mean, most of them have been in here, honestly, and I'm not blowing smoke up their ass saying that. I really love Quest for Metal. I like the Metal Meltdown. I really like Metal Forge reviews a lot, so go check them out and subscribe to them, please, because they're growing and they deserve the support. I like Jamie a lot. I like Banger, even though I feel like they've kind of like fallen off this year, just with lower effort. And part of that's COVID, but part of it, it's like The fact that a lot of the reviewers continued to review and then, like, knew they were gonna be doing it from home, but then didn't buy, like, a decent microphone or, like, any of that, it's like, y'all have funding. Like, put some more effort into this, please. But I generally really like Banger, and I appreciate what they're doing. Um, honestly, that's kind of it, in terms of specifically metal YouTubers. I watch a lot of YouTube in general. I watch a lot of non-metal YouTube, and honestly, a lot of my influence for my videos and the way I approach them comes from non-metal YouTubers. So, um, stuff like, Chris Ray Gun, some black guy, I think they're hilarious. I like PewDiePie a lot, I'll admit it. I like his style, and he makes me laugh. I love Red Letter Media. That's probably like a big influence on like my sense of humor and how I try to approach some of the like podcasts and stuff. I'd love to do more like roundtable stuff with other people to kind of almost replicate their like best of the worst segment, but with metal instead of. There's already a podcast that kind of does that though. Or they used to. I used to really love um 2 minutes to late night, and they had a podcast. They have a podcast called Pod Minutes to Cast Night, and they used to do this roundtable where they'd take a bad metal album that everybody hates and try to bring up positives about it, and it was so funny. But then they like abandoned the format, and then it all became like political ranting half the time and like talking down to people for having different beliefs. And I was just like, what happened to this podcast? Like, it used to be like metalheads like talking about metal albums, and now it's become this like really annoying thing. So I unsubscribed from all that, and I can't stand it anymore, which is a shame because I think all of those people are really funny people, very talented too. I know the main guy, he like also does music, and he's putting out videos now with like collabing with big musicians to cover different songs, and that's really cool. So I don't have like a vendetta against them, and I'm not talking crap, but those are just some other YouTubers that come to mind. Check out our Deftones for that. Yeah, definitely. We need more teenagers in metal scenes so we can get some half decent memes. I wonder if there's a metal TikTok scene. I'll bet there is. Like, I've been thinking about dabbling in that, but it's just one more thing, and I don't know if I can take one more thing right now. The other tricky thing too that I hate is like, I'm sure there's some. I probably get less access to teenagers because my videos aren't made for kids. But I feel like there should be more tiers for that. Like, is this made for kids? Is this made for teens? I would argue that my content is safe for teens, not necessarily safe for kids. I wish they made that distinction, but I feel like I miss out on potential subscribers and viewers because of that. It's usually about the same topic. Satanism, Lars, black metal, Varg, yeah. BRB. I lurked on metal memes for a while and gotta say a lot of people there are exact metalheads that I hate. Metalheads that are both judgmental and shallow. Yes. Oh my God. Honestly, Reddit in general, I feel like is a cesspool. And I hate how rule driven they are. Like the fact that they will just like toe the line completely around like, you can't post this because you didn't format the title correctly. Forget that. Forget that. Metal's about breaking the rules. We need tougher reviews. Too much overhype is going on. Fair enough. Fair enough. And I can be guilty of that too. But at the same time, I like what I like. And my opinion is what it is. I think overhype is better than stuff not getting attention. So that's my thought on that. Favorite non-heavy records this year. I already kind of talked about that. I just haven't listened to enough of it lately, even though I like listening to non-metal stuff on a regular basis. I listen to a little bit of everything, but I mentioned before the new Aesop Rock album seems like it's really good. I watch YouTube now. Don't even bother watching TV. Yeah, honestly, I watch way more YouTube than I do even like Netflix or anything now. Banger had a rough time this year. They also hired a few new people. I think they'll pull back together, though. I still show up anytime Blaine is, though. Yeah, I love Blaine. Blaine's hilarious, dude. One of my favorite Blaine moments this year was, I think it was this year, or was it last year? He's had a couple, like, because there was the whole thing going on about black metal and all people getting canceled in black metal and stuff. And so he was like, all right, this is going to piss off everybody no matter what. So I'm just going to throw these 2 albums out at once. And he put up the latest, I think, it was last year. So it was the Deathspell Omega album and that album from, I'm forgetting their name now, but they're like kind of a joke. The Neckbeard Death Camp, I think they're called. He reviewed their albums like at the same time because they're completely like in opposition of each other, and I thought that was really funny. And then he also made like an off comment at one part where he was just like, yeah, I'm reviewing this album, and I know like people, it seems like everybody's a potential what these days, so I'm just gonna focus on the music or whatever. He said it funnier than that, but yeah, Blaine's funny. He cracks me up. Metal Trenches, I feel like, doesn't overhype albums. He does 10 out of 10. Sir Lord, here's where you're wrong, though. I feel like you're not watching the full review because I have not given a single 10 out of 10. Actually, since I've started the channel, I think. I give a lot of 10s for enjoyability on that one scale, but I don't give a lot of overall 10 out of 10s. In fact, I don't even give that many like 9 out of 10s. On individual scales, yes. But you got to watch to the end because I separated in 3 scores. There's enjoyability, musicianship, and innovation. Those are all separate scores, and then I average them out for the total score. And I've not given a single A+. Definitely not this year, and I don't think last year either. So make sure you're checking out the whole thing because I think you're misunderstanding or something. Or maybe it bothers you that I'm giving 10s on those scales, which is fine. But I just want to be clear. But thank you, Omega, for saying I don't overhype. Pulls no punches, my dad says. Thanks, Dad. Quest for Metal, Jamie Horsley, overhype albums, but Jamie has gotten me into so many bands this year, including classic bands like Deep Purple and Rush. Yes, that's why I love them. That's why I continue to enjoy them. Because if that was all they do, it would get on my nerves more. But this stream is a 10. Yes. I mean, we've all covered that. Doesn't necessarily mean anything coming from you now, but good times. If you're very young and you didn't know Rush and Deep Purple, yeah, I mean, shoot, there's a lot of people from this generation who don't know. I mean, you got to learn it somewhere, so it's good for them to get exposed to that wherever that may be. I mean, it's hard to escape Deep Purple, but it's not really Rush. For all the popularity and following they have, Rush aren't in the same level of recognition. I'd debate that. I feel like Rush is bigger than Deep Purple. I'd be interested to kind of look up how their like album sales rank up or something. Quest for Metal, thank you for the great content this year. You are the best. Sorry, Metal Trenches. Hey, he's a natural. He's a natural. All right, so fair enough. What's up, Flight? Love the mask. Thanks, Haunt Luma. By the way, this is a Fallout mask. If people didn't recognize that. 10 out of 10 for enjoyability is perfection. Perfection doesn't come every day. Here's where I disagree. For me, perfection means they got a 10 out of 10 on all 3 scales. Enjoyability is simply how much did I have fun listening to the record? Did I enjoy it start to finish? Did it get me tied in right? Was I banging my head? Were there songs where I kind of lost it? Or was it consistent all the way through? That's enjoyability. I think a lot of albums make that scale for me. Definitely not all of them, but there are plenty of albums where I have a grand old time listening to them the whole way. Like, for instance, this Architects album, this is a 10 out of 10 for enjoyability, no doubt, but it is not a 10 out of 10 album. For musicianship, I'd probably give it about a 9 because it's decently technical and it's well written and it's catchy, but could it be more impressive? Are there more impressive bands from a musicianship standpoint out there? Absolutely. And in terms of innovation, it's like a C. It's a 7 for that. It's pretty average. Like, there are plenty of other albums that kind of sound like this one. So then you average those together. So we got 10, 9, 7. We're looking at like that drags this down to like a B+. So no, that doesn't make it a perfect album. It just makes it an album I really love re-listening to all the time because I have a really fun time with that. So we can agree to disagree, but I just feel like you're making an argument that isn't necessarily. You're thinking of it differently than I am, I think, is what it comes down to. I don't think I even know any album that is a complete 10 out of 10 because no matter what, you can find flaws no matter how. I would agree with that. If we were being objective, though, subjective subjective is different. Yes, of course. I'm very young and I know Deep Purple. Good. Hey, good for you, man. There are people out there that don't. So, I mean, gotta learn somewhere is what I always say. I'd love to do a podcast episode with you once. It's about time to drop my email. I feel like we could have a really cool discussion. I agree, Alex. That would be really fun. So, it's been harder for me to find time to do the interviews, just to coordinate and then just be able to do it. Like, this is one of those rare times where I just had like some time to myself, and I don't get a lot of that. But yeah, we should definitely line something up. I think that would be fun. Foreigner or Feiner recommends, says, lol, I'm going to hop on Trenches plus QFM appreciation train. You guys are a major reason I started my channel. That's cool. That's so cool. And at one point too, when I'm a little bigger, and I'm going to say that too, like, I have no problem like tooting my own horn too. I am not the most modest person. Like, I will, this channel is going places. It's getting bigger. Like, the growth rate right now is ridiculous. So I have plans. And one of the things I would like to do when I am kind of a little bigger size is do a video giving some tips and tricks on how to do this and how to grow and what helps, and what equipment you can get on a budget too, because I don't have that much money. So like, I get stuff on the cheap the best that I can. Like, a lot of my lights here are just like discount lamps that I put like a LED bulb into and stuff, but lighting is everything. And so I want to do something on that later on. But I'm really glad that you appreciate what we do and that it's inspired you. That's cool. Quest for Metal got me into Blind Guardian and Esoteric. Jamie got me into Anal Nathrak. Yes. What got me into Lantlos, Harakiri for the Sky, and Deathspell Omega? You got me into Loathe. Oh man, that Loathe album is so sick. Well, I guess I prefer people who don't give 9 and 10 out of 10 easily, but well, obviously you don't have to appeal to me only. Yep. I mean, that's what it all comes down to. You can't please everyone too, because once I start giving lower scores too, people get mad about that. So yeah, I just do what feels right. And yeah, fair enough. I know it's off subject for you, but have you considered playing games with your metal fans? That is something I've definitely thought about doing. I would love to do that. It's just a matter of, again, like, finding the way to do it. I don't have software on my computer that's best for that right now. I don't even use like OBS or anything. I use like all this cheapo free software that I found to use instead. So I just don't have a good way to do that. I've considered doing it on like Twitch or something, but yeah, that's another thing I'm interested in doing. So maybe in the future. Have you considered dropping the mask altogether? I feel like it might stint your reach, or is it privacy? Yeah, it's privacy based. I agree that there's a research behind that too, that people love like eye contact and be able to respond to a face and everything. But it's not going away anytime soon. And honestly, I kind of like the mask too, because it adds to like the branding factor. Like, people see me, they instantly know who it is. Not that they wouldn't if they just saw my face, but I feel like it's like one of those things. And so if you don't like me, you already know from the thumbnail, like, all right, I'm not going to watch this, and that's fine. And if you do like me, you're like, oh shoot, it's him. I want to see what he has to think about, to say about that. So maybe in the future, it's one of those things I've considered doing too. Like, hey, when we hit X amount of subscribers, I'll do an unmasking video. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Quest for Metal made me listen to all Sodom and jam their albums almost every day. Sodom's good stuff. That new album was surprisingly excellent. Metal Meltdown got me into FTF. I feel like I know what that is, and I'm forgetting what that is. Aransi Pazuzu and Imperial Triumphant. Imperial Triumphant is the best. Check out my interview I put in my posts last night. I'm gonna make a band named The Year of the Butcher. Ooh, I like that. I feel like that might be taken already though, but I do like that. Trenches has the best video ideas with the Bandcamp videos, to be honest. It's good to give smaller bands more recognition. Thank you, Customer Metal. Yeah, I really want to continue doing that series as long as I can, because that's like, it's fun for me. It's not horribly time consuming, but it also gives the opportunity to share a lot more bands that would either completely slip under the radar, and more and more people have been watching them, which is great too. So it's like I can draw in more viewers with the big reviews like for Deftones and stuff, but then I can also be like, hey, but also here's this other group of bands you should check out. I also really enjoy doing the like for fans of and bands like videos. I'm hoping to do a lot more of those because that's another way for me to expose these smaller bands. I have no idea how Banger TV is so big, and you, Metal Meltdown, and Quest for Metal have only a few thousand subscribers. I mean, to be totally frank, and this is not to rag on Banger at all, because they do a great job, I think. It's funding. Like, they have funding. At least their first year they did. They even mentioned it. They got like a grant, I think I heard, from like the, Canadian arts, some sort of Canadian like arts grant. So they had a budget. So they were able to put that budget into making great content and then also marketing. That marketing's huge. So if you can get a good marketing channel going, and then also they already had name recognition because I'm like forgetting the main guy's name right now, but he put out that banger documentary. That's what the name came from. And so people already knew the name, they already knew the brand, they already knew the guy. And if they already liked the documentary, it's like, oh shoot, now there's going to be a whole channel on this. That's awesome. So they had a lot of things going for them that allowed them to grow so quickly. Whereas the rest of us are just Joe Schmoes working out of our homes, just doing this on our own. We don't have fancy editors and everything. So that's why, really. That's what it comes down to. Leonid makes a good point. There's no single scale for objectivity, as the meaning of language is inconsistent. Absolutely. Farfan got me into Inquisition and Behexen. Jamie got me into Anal Nathrak and Swallow the Sun. CKN got me into Septic Flesh and Arion. Metal Trenches got me into Wolfheart and Within Destruction. Yes! Makes me so happy to hear that people are getting into Within Destruction, because they are, in my mind, like one of the best modern deathcore bands out there. Banger TV has been doing this for a very long time. Is the main reason. Built up fans over years. I remember watching them in like 2008. Yeah. I clipped you saying I was your favorite because I said it out. No, you're going to get me in trouble, Laura. How dare you? Blackwater. Usually lower scholars are good for views, though. Most of Metal Meltdowns. Yes, this is true. And I've noticed it. Believe me, I've noticed it, because I am the type of guy who looks at analytics and also looks at my competition. Even though they're my friends, you're my competition too on some level. Like I said, I'm very competitive. So I will look at their videos and look at, why did this one do so well? And why did this one do better than mine? And oftentimes it is because it's a more negative take. And especially the Metal Meltdown, I have seen that, where a video blew up because it was like hate clicks. And, I definitely got some of that from my 6 Feet Under review, but he got a lot more. And he's had other ones like that too. The thing is, like, I tend to try to only review albums that I actually enjoy listening to, and I'll filter out albums that I don't like listening to from the beginning. The only reason I did that 6 Feet Under one was because it was so bad, just so painfully bad, and it didn't feel like punching down either, because they're so big. Because I would rarely, I wouldn't say never, but I'd really try not to like crap on a smaller band on the channel, because it's hard enough out there as it is. And like, who am I to be the judge, jury, and executioner of like some band that may still be growing? So I just try to be positively focused. But that 6 Feet Under album was just so atrocious. And it's like, they're fine. They're big boys. They can handle it. And I had an idea in my head. I kind of pictured how I wanted the video to go as just sort of a comedy thing. And I did it. And so I like doing those. But again, like, I just don't focus on negativity. And so I don't have as many of those. But I've had plenty of videos blow up that were very positive too. So I was really pleased with how the Inquisition review did. Obviously, the Deftones review blew up, the biggest this year out of any of them. And we'll just keep toying with that. Yes to Inquisition. Wyatt X Him got me into Argos Lent and Summoning, Metal Meltdown, and to an extent Fantano got me into Oranzi Pazuzu. I actually really like Fantano. I know people have mixed opinions on him, and me and him by no means agree on everything. I thought his take on the Deftones album was just off and even kind of strange. but it's his opinion, and that's fine. And so I do respect him a lot, and I think part of the reason I do respect him is that he is a very tough reviewer. Like, he doesn't give a lot of like really high scores, and so when I see him giving a high one, it really means something. Whereas when I give a high score, it's kind of like, okay, that's par for the course. Dad says F2F first to find. Look at Dad getting the lingo. Gotta share it here. I listened to Individual Thought Patterns again today, and it may be knocking Sound of Perseverance off the best death metal place. Wow. Okay. White XM got me into Lantlos, Deathspell Omega, Nun, Dragged into Sunlight, Portal. Oh my gosh. Are we due for a new Portal? We might be. Are they on a 2-year cycle? They might be. I know we got a Portal album in 2019, which was a good one. Man, I love Portal. Don't think you should look at Metal Meltdown, Quest for Metal as competition. Why not? Only you reviewed Inquisition, which may be the best black metal album. Yeah, I mean, that helped. That's something I'll jump on too. Like, another one of our biggest videos is me and Chris's discussion of the last Deathspell Omega album, and it was partially because everybody else blacklisted it. People refused to talk about it. So when people came looking for it, we were the only game in town. So it worked. It worked in our favor. So yeah, I'm fine with that. But yeah, when I say competition, like, we're friends. Like, I think they're all cool. I would never want to see their channel. I wouldn't want to see anything negative happen to their channel. I don't want them to lose subscribers. I just want to do better than them. I mean, I'll just be honest. Like, I'm always on my grind, and I get competitive, and so I always like to do that. But at the same time, like, no matter what happens, like whose channel blows up or whatever, like, I want to keep the community. I want us to help each other out. I will always share other people's videos, especially when I think that they're particularly good, because they do a lot of good work. And so, but yeah, I mean, on some level, they are kind of my competition for certain things, because there's certain times I'll put up a review, and then 2 or 3 of the other channels will put up the same review. And it is kind of I'll admit, it's kind of a bummer for me when I see my video get dunked out of the rankings because their videos overshadowed it. But I don't take that as I'm mad at them. It's more so, okay, what did they do better? What did they do better than my video? And then I kind of like study that, and that's motivation for me to continue to improve my content. So it's a positive thing. Hatred for Mankind for me is the best debut album ever. Most underrated record this year. I'll go back to Neck of the Woods. I think that Neck of the Woods album, which I have. So let me show it to you all, just as another way to promote them. You'll see me wearing the shirt a lot too. I almost wore it today, but I wore Barbarossa. This is another underrated album too. This deathcore album from Barbarossa. Check that out. But where are you at, Neck of the Woods? You're around here somewhere. I'm blind. What the heck? It should be right there by Necropanther. Where'd it go? Shoot. It must be in the wrong place, because it's not in the alphabetical. Unless I'm totally just blind right now. Yeah, shoot. I don't know where it went, but check out Neck of the Woods. You can find them on Bandcamp. Awesome fusion of kind of like metalcore with Rivers of Nile. Kind of like a little sludgy too, a little proggy. And people just slept on it, but it's so good. It really is good. I respect Fantano, but I'm tired of him overhyping liturgy. Yeah, he does love liturgy, and I do not. Well, true. What do you give high scores? It's just par for the course. Yeah, I mean, I'll admit it. I'll be the first to admit it. I even when I was doing reviewing on like Metal Storm, you can have a little like nickname, and I gave myself the one Stamp Tramp, which is from, if anybody used to watch How I Met Your Mother, that's what they called Marshall, because he would say everything was amazing. And so yeah, I'm definitely the Stamp Tramp. Agreed. One of the top 5 albums of the 2010s. Yo, if we all start a joint website for reviews, you are better for the harder, faster music. Jamie can do the progressive and I'll do the slow. Dude, I would love that. In fact, that's something I've been thinking about a while. The problem is like websites and .coms are just so dead right now, and it's so hard to like get any growth with that. So I feel like it almost has to be like social media based. Honestly, the best idea I can think of, as much as I hate Facebook right now because they've been cracking down on this, but like part of the reason like Mathcore Index does so well is they have a Facebook group where they built up this amazing community of just diehard people, and every post in there just gets so much engagement because everybody's there all the time. So I think better yet, what we should do is just make a Facebook group or something that all of our sites are in. We all post our stuff in there and we interact with people in that area. So but yeah, I agree. And in whatever format, we should all get together and have some sort of joint force that helps all of us and we help each other. That would be great. I usually trust Fantano for his pop hip hop reviews, not metal. Most of the metal I like, he hates. Most of the metal I hate, he likes. He is a good reviewer, though. Yeah, fair enough. Blackwater Russ spitting facts. Yes, Fantano was right on Protest the Hero. I forgot what he said about Protest the Hero. I really loved that album, and it grew on me a lot, but I can't remember what he said about them. He thinks Coheed and Cambria is an At the Drive-In ripoff. That's outrageous. Did he say that? That's crazy. That's so crazy to say. What an outrageous thing to say. I wonder if he regrets that, because that's just not true. Differences, Coheed and Cambria are good, and At the Drive-In is not great. Yeah, and even barring that, they're so different. They're so different. How can you even compare that? To me, that's apples and oranges. That's ridiculous. I'm sure I've said things like that before, so I won't like. That doesn't make me personally hate him or anything, but that just strikes me as a really bad take. Jamie was way too harsh on Protest here in Imperial Triumphant. Jamie can, to quote Jamie, he can stick a breadstick up his ass. But no, you like what you like. He did. I will give him credit though. He I forget which video it was. It was one of his recent videos. He said that it kind of grew on him a little bit, Imperial Triumphant in particular, but he still prefers not really that sound, which is fine. Imperial Triumphant's a hard band to get into. I'm honestly amazed at how many people like Imperial Triumphant, because they are a dense, difficult band to listen to. And honestly, when their first two albums came out, I did not like them at all. And then when the Inceste EP came out, that's when I came around and realized like, oh wow, these guys are amazing. And they were just so fun to talk to, like just really down to earth guys. You know, we all got a beer at the bar before the show and we just sat down and we did that interview. And, you know, it was just me with the microphone pointing it out, all of them old school. And it was just like hanging out with friends. Like it was really, really neat. And hearing them talk about their graphic novel they put out, which is up high. You can't see it. I have it up on the wall. Yeah. You also had a Metal Archives page. Yes, I did. I don't update that anymore. Metal Archives, I have a love-hate relationship with too. I really appreciate with what a great like record and database they are for finding virtually any band, no matter how small. But at the same time, they're run by really kind of like elitist, opinionated people. And so a lot of my reviews would get rejected on the grounds that it was, what was the one said that it was like too self-referential or something like that, which is just kind of my style. And then also, I think they finally put them on, but for the longest time, they refused to put Botanist in the archives because they're like not metal enough. But it's like, that's insane. Like they're very clearly like a black metal post-black band. There's so many bands on there that sound like them, but the fact that they like don't use guitars and they use a hammered dulcimer somehow made them not metal. And so I had a fun time making a lot of memes with them, and even the guy from Botanist would reshare them and thought that they were hilarious. But yeah, Metal Archives, yeah, they're weird in some ways, but I'm glad they exist. I know this is petty, but his only reason of hating And Justice for All was the mix. I hear this a lot, and it always irritates me. The music itself is fantastic. Mist isn't that bad. You know, and sometimes a bad mix can kind of add to the charm of the album. I always say this about As the Palaces Burn from Lamb of God. I love how that album sounds, even though it's a complete train wreck. Like, and they even admit it in the whole documentary process behind it, that they lost the masters and stuff, and it was just a complete shit show. But I love how that album sounds. I think it's got a really unique and just ugly, aggressive sound to it. I hate Miko's politics and what he has said, but he is not the one writing the lyrics for Deathspell, and that is his other bandmates that have completely different opinions. Want a new album so badly. Yeah, I agree. And I don't know what to make of Miko. Miko's a strange character. Sometimes I feel like he's just kind of an edgelord. I don't think he's an actual, I won't say the word on the stream because sometimes, that'll get you in trouble. But for those who know Deathspell and the accusations and stuff, you know what I'm talking about. But I don't think he's actually like actively into that stuff. But even I get some people's opinions that like if you're involved at all and if you're not like against it, then you're part of the problem. If that's your opinion, that's fine. I tend to disagree. I think people grow from interaction and positive interaction. And so I'd love to talk to him. I'm always interested in talking to people like that. That's why I love Daryl Davis. Like Daryl Davis is like one of the only people I consider kind of a hero right now. He's that guy who goes around. He's this black blues musician. He befriends people in like the Klan, and to the point where he's gotten multiple people to give up being in it. And to me, like that's true change right there. Is like I mean, it's corny, but it's that old saying like you catch more flies with honey or whatever. Like I think it's true. Like you can't kind of shame somebody out of a view or mentality. You got to like engage with them. You got to listen to them. You got to make them feel heard first, and then you can share your own thoughts and beliefs and have a discussion. God forbid. Not allowed. Not allowed in 2020. Deathspell are one of my favorite black metal bands. They're so good. They're just, you can't, whatever you don't like about them personally, like you can't deny their talent and their crazy songwriting. And God, not like so many bands ape them. How many black metal bands out there? I mean, even just me, have I said like, this reminds me of Deathspell Omega. Like so many bands ape them because they're so good. Fantano is a nerd, not a metal guy, but I like he doesn't join the overhype because sometimes I feel like I'm wasting my time watching overhype reviews. Fair enough. Again, a lot of posturing going on with people gushing over Imperial Triumphant. Yeah, there's probably something to that in that, the bandwagon starts and then that can be a detriment. But I think they deserve it. And I'm just glad to see this, like, again, they're not the type of band that would normally get this kind of attention. The fact that they're like very dedicated to their craft, they're not trying to do anything for the fans really, like, and they're like jazz influenced more than anything. They're just such a bizarre band to get this level of attention. So I think the fact that they're getting it is great. Like I think it's really interesting. At the Drive-In is more similar to Fall of Troy. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Love the Fall of Troy also. Yeah, I have Doppelganger on my shelf. Great album. I found that listening to Alphaville mostly made me want to listen to Vile Luxury instead. That's fair. I would agree. I think Vile Luxury is the superior album of the two, but I like them both. I like Metal Archives, hate the reviewers and the people that run it. Yes, that's pretty much fair. I remember he gave Alphaville a 2 out of 10. The band commented. Did they? I feel like I watched that review. I don't remember him bashing on it so much. I remember watching it. I don't remember the score, but I remember some of the comments he had about it. One of the things I respect about Fantano though is that even when he's giving a bad score, unless he's just doing like a funny video, he'll still talk about like all the pros and he'll go in depth about it. And it's clear that he listened. It's clear that he didn't like give it a one shot and go, oh yeah, F this, whatever. I don't care, and move on. Like he's never lazy. He never strikes me as lazy. The Deftones review, I did feel like he missed stuff, but even then, like I feel like he genuinely forms a valid opinion about it. And so that's again something I respect about him, even when we disagree. It's hard to choose between Vile Luxury and Alphaville, for which I like more. Yeah. They're similar, but I like Vile Luxury more. Omega says he likes Alphaville more. This is fun. This is what's fun about it. Well, I think Antifa is more blank-like than the blanks themselves. Honestly, I frequently find myself feeling the same way. But I talk to those people too. Like I talk to people who seem to be more kind of swinging in either direction. And I just try to listen and understand and give them, an alternate viewpoint on that stuff. But yeah, I do, and I've made videos about this before too. I hate, like, to me, that group is more like the Tipper Gores of this era. Like, you know, the people that were censoring music and stuff that used to be the old white fuddy-duddies on like the conservative camps. You know, they're still around too, and they annoy me. But now you also have these, like, you know, far more left-leaning people also trying to censor music in various ways and get concerts canceled. And I'm just not for that. I'm just not for that. I don't think I ever will be. Like, I think art should be free to be explored. And it's totally fine if people want to blacklist something, if people decide they don't want to host a particular band because of their own opinions, if they don't want to post a review on a band because of their opinions. That's all fine. But when you start saying, and if anyone else does it, we're going to boycott you and we're going to make your life a living hell, or we're going to boycott the venue so that their tour gets canceled, where once it becomes like we're going to ruin it for everyone else, you've lost me. Like, I'm just not for that. I will never agree with that. I shouldn't say that because I could change my mind, but yeah, that's really annoying. I hate that. Imperial Triumphant commented on Jamie's review. They were actually really nice. Yeah, I think I saw that. Yeah, they're really cool people. Like I said, we sat down, had a beer. Zachary's a really interesting guy. Kenny, the drummer, is just this. He's a sweetheart, man. Like, I just want to give him a hug. I want him to hold me. Like, he's just a really cool dude. And he's been in so many bands and still plays in so many bands. He's just a really talented guy, too. Thank you for the clarification. I actually only listened to Vile Luxury because it was on Fantano's year-end 2017. Yeah, see, great stuff. Like, even when these reviewers give lower scores, too, just the fact that they're sharing that stuff is important. AFM used to dislike Imperial Triumphant as much as he does with Gorguts Obscura. Yes, people change their minds. Give people a chance to change their minds. Yeah, the censoring used to be done by the religious right. Now it's done by the woke left. I mean, you're not wrong. I'd say it's still kind of both, but it has just gotten more and more egregious on the other side to an extent and sudden push that is really unprecedented, because the left always used to be this bastion of like kind of free expression, especially when it came to art. Like, we were talking about all the hippies and stuff, you know, like that's what it used to be. And so for now, all these like very militant people to be in that camp and say you can't listen to this, you can't listen to that, it's very off-putting to me. Yeah, I don't want to go too far into that because this is not I try to stay as apolitical on this channel as possible, but suffice it to say, I just I don't like censorship. And there's nuance to that, and there's plenty of discussions to have around it, and there's certain things that I can get why we need to talk more about it, but I just don't agree with people that try to shut things down. I don't think that's a solution. I think we have a package at the door. Let's see, where was I? QFM. Yeah, I like Alphaville now, though. Obscura, though. Still need more time. I like I like some of that stuff. Gorguts is a little too crazy even for me, I would say. But I respect them deeply. Like, they're not a band where I'm just like, oh, they're so bad. I'm like, no, they're extremely talented. I just can't get it. Like, I haven't gotten into it yet. Thing that I hate about those people who want to cancel stuff is the superiority complex. They not only try to take stuff away, but also think making you a favor by doing it. I know, it's really pretentious and irritating. Oh, Doggo came to say hi. All right. Oh, she's running away now. She changed her mind. She's like, hey, no, I got stage fright. Yeah, and also, like, the funny thing too is a lot of these people who like try to cancel people end up getting canceled later. It's like the mob comes for them next. So, and it's like everybody's got their own stuff is what it comes down to. Funny how Jamie Horsley liked Imperial Triumphant side project Folterkammer, though thought he would hate it. Yeah, I mean, different sounds is all. True, cancel culture plays a big role into this. I'm not a fan of Trump or Biden. Hey, big agree on that. I'll leave it at that. I hate both political parties. I think I can agree on that too. There's a lot of problems, and none of it this is the one thing I will say. There are a lot of problems in this world, and none of them are the fault of a single party. All of our issues are bipartisan issues. And to me, the best solution we could have is just more people with more differing opinions actually having a conversation, listening to each other, sharing their thoughts, and coming to some sort of mutually agreeable solution. I think we could make so much progress if we just did that. And it seems like it's such an obvious thing, but we're just not in a place to do that. People love being on their team and being in a camp and fighting back. And then it's even to the point now where you're like a fence sitter if you don't take a side. But I'm not for that. I'm not for that. But that said, also, like I've said many times on the Facebook and on here too, I don't care what your political beliefs are, where you come from, what you look like, what your race, gender, whatever is, you are welcome here. Everyone's welcome here. And as long as people are being cool to each other, that's how you foster growth. There's a great episode I did with a listener at one point that some of you may have heard, some of you may have not, but this guy just chimed in because I made some comments about this type of stuff, and he just like reached out to me. I think he emailed me and was like, hey, can I talk to you as somebody who grew up in a really like racist neighborhood and like got away from that by being in the metal community, like by having that exposure. And so, yeah, we did it. And I've changed the title a few times, but it's just like, I think now it's just racism in metal, just so that's easier to search for. But find that episode on the podcast. I really love doing it. And it was a really interesting conversation because, a lot of people, their viewpoint now seems to be, well, if somebody's racist, if somebody's wearing the wrong band's patch, even if they're saying the wrong thing, whatever, then throw them out, cast them out, ban them, don't let them be in. But to me, that just that's how people get in like gangs and cults and all this stuff, is that they feel that rejection. They feel like they have nowhere else to go. And when you leave someone nowhere else to go, where are they going to go? Like, they're not just going to, I think people think that they'll be like so alone. They'll be like, well, I guess I just need to change my mind. It's like, no, people don't work that way. They'll just find more people that can prey on them then and prey on that insecurity and build up more hate groups. And so this guy talked about how even though he had some genuinely like racist attitudes from growing up with his family and that neighborhood and everything, being around the metal community and meeting people from other backgrounds and seeing that they love the same music as him and were really cool people was what broke him out of it. And I think that's a very important lesson that more people need to learn. But people love, again, to just be on a team and fight each other to the bitter end. I'm a moderate myself. I just hate America. Sometimes I do too, but honestly, like I can't complain. Like, this is still one of the we love to complain as a country, and there's so many whiners here that act like we're in the worst place in the world. And it's like, have you ever been to a third world country? Are you hearing what's happening in some of these other countries, like where people are genuinely being genocided? And it's like, you have no idea how good you have it. So come on now. The top video for that is Punk Rock MBA's video on racism and metal. Those are two separate ones, just to clarify. So I have an interview with the Punk Rock MBA that's more on mental health, and then I have the racism and metal video, or podcast, I should say. Cancel culture has good intentions, but perfection is just non-existent, especially since lots of people try to bring up something in the past. Just feels like an ego trip. I agree, totally. Damn, looks like I tuned back in at the right time. Yeah, Metal Meltdown, things have been getting real just all of a sudden, like within the last 5-10 minutes. I hate Twitter. Yeah, dude, Twitter, of the platforms, I think Twitter's the worst, although lately it's been Facebook. Like, I would love to just get rid of Facebook, but I have enough followers there and enough of a community there that I feel like I'm kind of like letting them down almost if I do that. And it's still great for Facebook groups. So there's good stuff, but I try to stay off of it as much as possible. And I only jump on Twitter to share a video and get immediately off. Like, I don't scroll on Twitter at all because it is just such a cesspool of everything. Yes, we need more Daryl Davises, 100%. Daryl Davis, like I always argue that I don't have any heroes. Even people I considered heroes in the past, I feel like, because everyone's a human being and human beings are imperfect and they let you down. So I have this kind of mentality now that I don't really have people I consider heroes. But the closest I would have to that is Daryl Davis, because just this idea of this just Joe Schmo black blues musician going around into the lion's den, so to speak, and listening to these clan members and becoming their friends to the degree that they see how cool he is and can no longer have this cognitive dissonance of like, oh, but I'm in a hate group against this exact group of people. They hang it up and they say, I'm out. Like, that's where change happens. There's a psychology behind that. Like, I've studied this. So, yeah, we need a lot more Dale Davises. I deleted Twitter recently. Yeah, you're better off. Definitely is unfortunate that metal is such a low cultural diversity. You guys do a great job of discouraging the gatekeeping of some other metal folks. Yeah, thank you. I really do try to do that. I hate gatekeeping from whatever angle it may be. Which is why I try to share such a broad variety of stuff too. I try to share groups with, and also another thing I've been really trying harder to do is that even though like I like doing like my favorite female fronted bands list, for instance, and I know that's a hot topic right now, but there are genuinely people searching for that, and that's the term they use to look for it. So that's why I use it. I don't think that female fronted bands is a separate genre, or they belong in a separate category, and it's like the boys and the girls. But I know that people like myself will go looking actively for that term to find other bands like that. So I'll still do that, but I have been trying harder to like, if I highlight a band that has like a black front man or a female front woman or a trans person in the band or whatever, I won't even draw attention to it. Like, because I feel like at the end of the day, it's about the music. And I feel like the best way to treat any human being like a human being and to promote people getting into them is to just treat the music as music and not tokenize them, because that's what you run the risk of doing too, is like if you overly draw attention to it, then in some way it's something when I see other reviewers do it, sometimes it starts to feel like a, hey, look at me and what a virtuous person I am for sharing this band that nobody else will talk about because like, you know, their leader is trans or whatever. And it's like, dude, now you're making it about you. Like, don't make it about you. This is about their music. And so that's something I've been trying to kind of work on a balance for, because I like to celebrate that stuff, but I also, you know, I don't want to tokenize it. I don't want to be kind of part of the problem. So yeah. Don't like how these channels talk politics. Well, again, I'm trying to like dabble without fully going into it. I want to keep this as focused on kind of metal in general, which I feel like we're doing a good job of doing. You all can let me know. There's certain podcasts I listen to where they go this direction and it just becomes this like hate fest in either direction, and I don't like it. Like I love the H3H3 podcast, but they've had a couple episodes this year with the political climate where it just went a direction where I was just like, I can't listen to this episode. It's just too annoying to hear Ethan get all on his high horse about how he feels about this stuff when he doesn't know any more about this than you or I do. What up, Metal Meltdown? Came back at the right time. Feel that Facebook is just for 40-year-old moms and dads. I'm kind of making fun of my mom a bit. I mean, it is so old school, but it's like people still use it for that reason. They're just so used to it. It's funny that like MySpace isn't the same way, but part of that is because like MySpace doesn't even exist in the same way that it used to. I am a 43-year-old mom, LOL. Awesome. Glad to have you. That's we need more of that. I want more. See, I will say like the diversity of the fans on this channel is not particularly good. Like when I look at the analytics, it's like 99% like young white men. And so I'm like, is that something about me? But I don't take it personally either. I'm happy to have anyone who will have me. Blackwater Rust, my somebody is talking about politics and censorship and metal senses for tingling. Yeah, you seem to have a radar for that. Yeah, hello, Laura. Welcome. You are correct. LOL, musician is musician. That's all. Yes, unless a person himself draws attention to it, why should it matter? Yeah, you know, I had a good conversation with Charlie Fell from Lord Mantis about this, and we were talking about how we have mixed feelings about, like, they did I forgot the name of it, but they did a music festival where it was like all LGBTQ plus metal bands. And on face value, that sounds really cool. But at the other hand, he kind of described it as like, on some level, it almost feels like the Special Olympics. It's kind of like you're putting them out as like, they can only be on a tour with each other. And I'm like, yeah, I can kind of get that too. But I see arguments in both ways. It's like, yeah, but like it's more sort of like a pride parade situation where it's like a one-off, like, hey, we're here, we're queer, get used to it kind of situation, which is cool. But then at the same time, yeah, I almost rather just see them all, because it's funny because you see the opposite argument you do with female fronted. That hot topic is always, don't use that term, don't single out women as a separate category, just talk to them as a band. But then I'm noticing with LGBTQ plus groups, I get the opposite argument. It's like, why are you not drawing attention to this? Why are you not screaming this from the rooftops? Why are we not constantly pointing out that this is a trans band or a gay band or whatever? And I've just noticed that, like, it's just weird that you have that opposing mentality on those two things. And I think there's validity to all sorts of discussion in that area. I don't particularly like fall into one side of that issue, but it's just interesting to me. It's something I'm always interested in kind of following and watching. Why not? There's a social context to music. Yeah. Music is heavily cultural, so it's hard to talk music without discussing culture. And once you're talking culture, politics is only one step away. Yeah. Again, when I say I try not to make this a political channel, I think what I really mean is I don't argue that one side is better than the other. I try to at least keep it neutral. And again, like I said, I want everyone to feel welcome here. I don't ever want to like really I will trash talk actions, like, again, censorship. I will trash talk the idea of censorship and what people do to achieve it, but I try not to point fingers. And I've been guilty of it at times, but I really try not to do that. I fell off with Ethan Klein. Yeah, I'm always up and down with him. I actually, oddly enough, he's been doing this series called Frenemies, where it's him and Trisha Paytas, which seems like such an odd pairing. But I think from a psychological perspective, it's really been great because it's like helped humble Ethan in a way, I think, because he can get on a high horse and for sure considers himself to be like a better person than Trisha Paytas is. But I think their interactions have really helped him grow. And they even did an episode with Dr. Drew recently where they did like a personality test, and the way he interacts with her now and stuff is really cool, like, because she has a lot of mental health issues, and so I think he's learning. So he does have days where I'm just like, Ethan, shut the fuck up, like I don't want to hear you talk about this because you don't know what you're talking about. The Mental Meltdown on my Resident Evil 7 drinking game stream, I had an actual conversation about American politics with people, and it was surprisingly civil. It's okay to disagree. It's not okay to not deal with. Yes and no. I think more so it depends on the person's definition of what they mean by deal with it. Like, what do you mean by that? Because I think some people say deal with it means, like, again, taking a side, taking a hard stance, and like rejecting what you feel to be wrong. And I would argue that that's not dealing with it. I would argue that that exacerbates the problem. Because again, people, when they feel dejected, when they feel cast off, they will retreat, not into isolation, but into larger groups of people that share their same mentality. And then everybody ends up in these echo chambers, and it makes the problem worse. So if by taking action you mean listening, getting information from multiple sources, engaging with people you might normally disagree with, without arguing, and that sort of thing, to me, that's dealing with it. So that's where I think I get hung up with what you're saying there, is what you mean by deal with it. So yeah, maybe you have a response to that, but I'm going to get through these other ones. I'm a 66-year-old man who grew up on Crosby, Stills, and Nash and Young. Yes, and another CD you got me too that I think is on this shelf somewhere. Glad to have you on here, Dad. Oh, hey, the live is still going. Yes, it is. I wasn't expecting to go this long. And I'll tell you, all I have done with the video, even though the stream is called editing or whatever, is sync up the audio and video. I've done zero editing because that takes a certain level of focus and concentration that I don't have right now. There's always tomorrow. That album is not out for a long time, so I have plenty of time to edit it. I lost my spot again. Shoot, where am I? Oh, hey, yeah. There are not many in my demographic who listen to metal. I have been a fan since age 15. Getting older should not be a reason to stop listening. Absolutely. I'm actually surprised at how many of my friends who got me into metal no longer listen to metal. For me, it's a lifelong thing. I'm only more and more into it with every passing year. At the Metal Meltdown, I wish political discourse could be as good as that stream was. I can't even argue with my Trump supporting dad without being called a communist. So yeah, that's where, you know, it's good though. Like, it's good for us to engage with, like, I hate all this stuff where it's just constant mocking of either side. Like, you know, it's constantly mocking somebody for wearing a MAGA hat, or if it's mocking somebody for being a huge Black Lives Matter supporter or whatever. Like, mocking gets us nowhere. Like, it's good for us to have different opinions and different thoughts on these issues, because that's how we progress. That's true. You know, the term progressive, if you think of that, to me, it's about progressing, improving, moving forwards. And I feel like we're in stagnation right now. Who do you think invented metal, Hendrix or Sabbath? Sabbath. You know, Hendrix brought a lot of amazing, you know, I even have Are You Experienced, the vinyl up on the wall, right out of frame over there. But he's not, I wouldn't call him like a forerunner of metal. Like, Sabbath obviously like made that transition to what we consider today to be kind of a metal sound. It's important to remember that even when an artist is apolitical, most, if not all, music is inherently political and can have political consequences. Political consequences. I agree with all music has some level of politics to it. And I do argue again when people say like no politics in metal. I think it gets confused because, like, I'm fine with like political music. Like, obviously I love Rage Against the Machine, even though I don't agree with everything that they say, but you know, I like me some political music with political lyrics or socially conscious lyrics, as long as it's good music. Like, that's the bottom line for me all the time. Is it good music, and do they have something to say that they say well in a coherent way? I think where it annoys me is where it leaves the realm of the music and goes into just like ranting on Twitter, or even like screaming into a microphone between songs, and it's divisive. When it's like divisive stuff where it's like you're casting out a certain group. Like, the one that comes to mind is, as much as I love Every Time I Die, they had a concert where they basically were like, you know, if you're wearing a MAGA hat, or if you support Trump, like, get the fuck out. Like, we don't want you as fans. I don't like it when bands do that. Like, I just don't feel like there's any win. And to me, that's more of an ego trip again. To me, it's more of like a look at me, look at me. I'm so cool. I'm so woke. Like, I'm so special. Likewise, if it went in the other direction too, if they were like, if you all are, you know, Black Lives Matter, or if you all are, you know, a bunch of social justice warriors, then we don't want you, get out of here. I wouldn't like that either. Like, I don't like splitting. I don't like division. I don't think it gets us anywhere. I know it doesn't get us anywhere. And so, yeah, I just feel like metal is a great opportunity for us to share a love together. And despite our opposing opinions, get to know one another enough that we can maybe abandon some of the more negative and more toxic positions that we might hold and change our minds. Like, I think that's how we do that. And then in terms of music having political consequences, I'm not sure what you mean by that. I mean, are you feeling like somebody could put out a metal album that would cause people to take action on something positively or negatively? I mean, there's some truth to that. I mean, you have those albums like what was that Black Flag album where they were like actively raising funds to free the those people who had like been unjustly imprisoned or whatever, and then there's there's stuff like that. If we're talking about negative response, I have an issue with that because that still reminds me of like all the religious right people, all the like Catholic people boycotting like horror movies and stuff because they think that somebody's going to go out and watch Seven and then they're going to become a serial killer. Like I just can't get down with that. I don't agree with the idea that a perfectly otherwise normal person would listen to, let's say, even an album, let's say a perfectly normal person every way, perfectly normal upbringing, have never had like a negative uh thought of violence or something, and then they listen to like a legitimately like NSBM album, and then they walk away from that album going, all right, now I hate the blacks and the Jews. It's like it doesn't work that way. Like human beings don't work that way. um they just don't. If somebody does that, it's because they already have something wrong with them. They already have something in their life that has built that foundation, and usually it's trauma based abuse. Like, and this is what I work with on a daily basis. Like, kids don't go out and play violent video games and become violent. But kids do develop violent tendencies from their upbringing, from their trauma, from being around domestic violence, etc. And then they tend to be more attracted to those violent video games, and it can help exacerbate an already existing issue. So I'll never blame, whether it be video games, movies, television, or metal music, I will never blame it for something. It brings me back always to like that Marilyn Manson lyric of I forget what he said, but it also makes me think of Eminem, where he references Marilyn Manson. There, he says, they blame it on Marilyn and the heroin. Where were the parents at? Like, I feel like that is one of the most poignant, true lyrics of the past 20 years. It's so true. Like, if somebody has that much hate in their heart and that much violence in them, it's because something went wrong much earlier on before they got to the album or whatever. So that's part of why too, like, I'm not scared of being wrong about an album or artist that has, even if they have bad intentions, because they don't have that power. The power lies in pre-existing mental health things that are far more complex than the realm of art can even really tackle. So, sorry, I went on a long discussion there, but mental health is my field, and I've been doing it for over a decade now, and have a lot of experience with it. So I have a lot of thoughts, especially working with kids. I have liberal parents, especially my mom, and I usually get called racist for criticizing Islam and BLM. Like, yeah, you should be allowed to criticize anything. Like, there is good and bad with everything out there. There are plenty, and again, I'm trying not to get off a metal topic, but there's everything out there has good and bad to it. Like, you should be allowed to criticize virtually anything. It's just how you criticize it. Like, are you forming a valid criticism, or are you just like talking down about it? Let's see. I lost my spot again. I would go with Sabbath. You can trace metal dozens of bands. One self-titled by Black Sabbath was released, and the main riff of track Black Sabbath was heard. The metal was born. Yes, I agree. Well, it's Hendrix, in my opinion. I don't think he formed metal, but again, like, there's plenty of influence of Hendrix's guitar on metal musicians to this day. No argument there. And one of the greatest guitar players of all time. I feel like this community is more open-minded and welcoming than the metal community on average. I would agree with that. I think, especially in the past couple of years, the metal community has become less welcoming, and it's really bothered me. And that was another reason I actually wanted to start doing this, is to offer an alternative. I feel like a lot of African American musicians don't get the credit they deserve. I think that's changing, but on the whole, I'd agree. But I think with like bands like Animals as Leaders getting big, there's been a couple pretty big hardcore and metalcore groups lately with black frontmen or members. I think part of the issue though is that And we could get into a whole like socio-political history lesson around why this is, but I think fewer black people get into metal from the beginning. And that's just part of the thing, is that like they're underrepresented because they're not like ushered into it. And we could again argue that like, well, that's because they don't feel welcome here, or they weren't raised with it because their parents weren't welcome. Like there's a lot to unpack there that we could theorize about. And so that's not just me saying that like, oh, they just don't like it and that's why. It's like, no, I think there's a lot of context to why they're underrepresented. But the fact is they're underrepresented, and therefore because they're underrepresented, they're just not as many groups with members of that background. And the same could be said for a lot of other backgrounds. But it's something, again, I'd like to see change, and I feel like it's changing on some. It's another thing I like about that YouTube channel, Some Black Guy. Not only is he just a really funny YouTuber, but he also loves metal, and he even does like metal covers and stuff, and he'll talk about it a lot of the same bands that I like. And he is some black guy, like it's just this like younger black guy talking about this stuff, and I think that's great. Like I think the more people we get doing that, the more we're gonna see people from different backgrounds and races and whatever going, yeah, this is something we can get interested in. Sorry, I got a text I gotta respond to real quick. Gotta be on the up and up. Oh wow, these are really good. The kids are making cookies. Okay. Where was I? This is getting pretty heavy. I need more riffs and rum. Yeah, for sure. I feel like heavy but positive. Like that's what I strive for too. Like when we get in these topics, I don't want it to be divisive. And also, again, let me know like if it gets to a point where it's just like, okay, this is too much to the point where I don't want to be here anymore when I normally would listen. Sound off in the chat, because I want to hear that too. Because I don't want to be that channel, because I'm that person sometimes too. Like I said with H3, I'll be the one who comments like, you lost me. You lost me on this one. He was more hard rock. He's like Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, in my opinion. Inspired metal, but isn't exactly metal. Yeah, I would agree with that. Hello, Quest for Metal, says Laura. Yes. Black Sabbath is 100% metal by me. Led Zeppelin was the first, of course. They came out in 69 with Black Sabbath came out in 70. I was there. Yes, Dad was there for all of that. It's just we're having an argument about who is metal, though, because I would argue Led Zeppelin's more rock and roll, whereas Black Sabbath is more metal. Not that there's no crossover there, although the argument can be made, and I somewhat agree with this, that one of the first metal songs is actually Helter Skelter from the Beatles. That song is metal as fuck. And it's one of my favorite Beatles songs. It is super heavy. And so, yeah, it goes back even a little bit further. I forget when that song came out. Quest for Metal says, hi, Laura. Okay, Blackwater Rust coming in with some more. You know, I was going to say this isn't like fair to metal, but it is related. So Islam does have lots of issues, much like Christianity. Racist gets thrown around too much toward legitimate criticisms. You know, this is something, the way I'll relate it back to the metal topic is, it really bothered me that people got mad at Toke for having an anti-Islamic lyric in one of his songs, but it wasn't like a jab at Muslim people. It was a jab at the religion. And it struck me as funny because it's like, if a metal musician holds up an upside down cross and talks crap about Christianity, particularly in any of the like Western countries, pretty much nobody bats an eye at this point. That's like par for the course. Like that's been part of metal forever. So it's like, oh, they criticize Christianity. Okay. They criticize Catholicism. Okay. It's like, we're all okay with that. And yet, despite Islam being the second largest religion in the entire world, it's off limits. And that just strikes me as weird, because every religion has its good and bad ideas and its good and bad history. And Islam is included in that. And so I would never really say one religion is better than another or more upstanding than another. They all have their atrocities associated with them. And so it just seems strange to me that we're picking favorites when it comes to who you can disparage in the lyrics, because again, we're not talking about like an underrepresented group here. We're talking about the second largest religion in the entire world. Let's move away from that topic though, because that could go to a bad place. I'm gonna try to not go too deep into that. And again, just to be clear too, if you are Muslim, if you are Christian, if you are atheist, if you are satanic, you are welcome here. I don't care. Like, power to you, whatever it does for you, because there's a lot of research too showing the benefits of faith and how that can be helpful. So, all good. Hey, Quest for Metal, what's up? I'm with you there, man. I would just literally mean, deal with it. Like at the end of the day, you got to go to sleep and you can't stress every time somebody doesn't see eye to eye. Yes, yeah, 100%. Like, it's not healthy to do that either. Like, it doesn't help anything to constantly like be in that anxiety state. So, yeah. Out of politics, I actually kind of simp Alyssa over Arch Enemy the Agnes. Okay, yeah, now we're talking here. I actually simp Alyssa of Arch Enemy. I always argue though, I always thought Angela better across the board. Like, I think Angela is awesome. And I love, by the way, I will be doing a review for Nervosa. I hope to do an interview too, because I've previously covered a few times Blood, dang it, now it was in my brain and now it escaped me. Blood Hunter. That the vocalist from Nervosa is also the vocalist of Blood Hunter, and she reminds me so much of Angela in her vocals and presentation and everything. Like, there's no way she's not a fan, and they're so cool. So I am always I'm Team Angela. The way people were like Team Edward and Team Jacob for like what's that movie called in the book series. But anyways, I'm Team Angela. I do get annoyed that every time I go in an Arch Enemy group on Facebook, it's like all just simp pictures, mostly of Alyssa, and I'm like, can I get some music here maybe? Like, yeah, she's beautiful, absolutely. And I'm not going to argue with that, and I'm not going to lie and say I don't like looking at a pretty picture of Alyssa or Angela, but that's if that's all we're getting out of this group, that's kind of a really a missed opportunity. Well, to be honest, you could argue Hendrix was just as heavy as Sabbath. Yeah, for certain songs, yeah. I think Scorpions were the first metal band. Interesting. I don't know how I feel about that one. I haven't listened to a ton of Scorpions, honestly. Man, I'm losing my spot again. Voodoo Child is a game changer. Heck yeah. Megadeth is my favorite band. I don't 100% agree with everything Mustaine says, but I think the music is amazing. Yep, agree on that. Hendrix has some truly heavy tracks, but not all of his music was as heavy. He pushed limits, that's for sure. People say that Elvis and the Beatles invented rock. They're wrong. Chuck Berry invented rock. Yeah. He goes way back. We might even be able to go back further than that, but yeah, Chuck Berry's the man. Like I said, African American musicians don't get the credit they deserve. I feel like people know Chuck Berry is a progenitor at this point. Like, most guitar players will reference Chuck, and definitely Jimmy. Not all Sabbath stuff is heavy. Seattle built a Hendrix museum to immortalize him. Awesome dude, absolutely. Came for the heavy music, stayed for heavy discussion topics. Yeah, maybe we'll have to do more of this if people like it, but I'm trying not to spend too much time in this realm. The first album was overall more hard rock than metal. I'll admit that. Paranoid was pretty much all metal, though. It's not that 100% of their catalog is metal. It's that most of their body of work is metal. Track Paranoid is hard rock, pretty much. I love these lives because all of us metal fans can argue respectfully. Yes. Seeing your eyes is a trip. Yeah, I'm sure it is for some people. I show them a lot on Instagram. Like, I'll post in in a mask like this. Disregard previous comments. I feel like hardcore tends to be one of the most accepting scenes in metal and punk. It depends on who you're talking to. Like, I don't know. I've met a lot of really like head up their ass hardcore people too. So it just depends. Like, I feel like every subgenre has their pockets of like really cool people, really chill people, and then really annoying people. As much as I love mathcore, and I love mathcore fans, and I love promoting mathcore and talking to people about mathcore, I will go on record and say I feel like some of the worst interactions I've had are with people from that scene too. So yeah, I don't know. It's everything's relative, I suppose. But people can really get an ego about this stuff. As an African American, my dad and I love metal. I play metal drums all the time. That's awesome, man. Like we need more of that. Like the more I see more diverse faces in a crowd at a metal show or in my chat or whatever, I think that's awesome. Like I want people to just feel welcome, and that's how we expand the genre too, because people from different backgrounds and races and creeds and religions and whatever all have something new to bring to the table. And so it's boring if it's just all one group of people putting this music out. So welcome, and thank you for being here. And I'm glad you enjoyed. I see you commenting on like all the videos too, so I really appreciate you being out there on the front lines. Did you name your channel Metal Trenches because you're willing to get on your galoshes, hop in the trenches, and respond to the comments? Kind of, sort of. I mean, it is a reference to like I'm down in the trenches. I'm trying to dig up like the really obscure stuff is sort of where that comes from. Gotta say, getting into pop music after diving deep into metal isn't an easy task. Pop fans aren't as elitist, but seeing a lot of metal is just too loud. Comments just hurts. Yeah, I feel like people are kind of getting over that, but yeah, it's definitely still a what's the word I'm looking for? A misconception. That wasn't the word I'm looking for, but it's close enough. Ringo is my favorite Beatles member, and Octopus Garden is one of my personal favorites on Abbey Road. Abbey Road's a great album, one of their best. Dang it jumped me forward again, didn't it? Kids in my school say metal has no melody. I was like, have you ever listened to Metallica, Megadeth, Anthrax, Slipknot, Suicide? Yeah, I know, seriously. That argument always boggles my mind. It's like, no melody in metal? Have you ever listened to a metal song? Like, you're insane. Like, sometimes the vocals don't have melody, but everything else does. Rings is my favorite too because I'm a drummer. Yeah, totally. Ringo. Angela's better in Arch Enemy, but Alyssa was better in The Agonist. I'd never listened to The Agonist a ton, so I don't have an opinion on that. I discovered Humanoid through your channel. Awesome band. Yeah, dude, Humavoid, so good. And another band probably that's underappreciated this year. Go listen to Humavoid if you have not. Especially if you like Meshuggah, you will love Humavoid. And then the idea that they're throwing Keytar into the mix is just so cool. They're awesome. And that whole album is really interesting. Twilight. Yes, Twilight. I don't know why I couldn't think of it. Also, another YouTuber I like that reminds me, the Cosmonaut Variety Hour. If you like watching people talk about, like, he talks about a lot of things, but especially like film reviews, and he'll do like these great videos I love where he sits on the couch with his girlfriend and they'll watch and Twilight in particular was the latest series. They watched each Twilight movies and they filmed their responses and their banter between each other, and it's so funny and the editing's great and he's just hilarious. Where was I? Loves Blackwater Rust loves Twilight, confirmed. Yep, you've just been outed, my man. Leva is underrated. Here's how I'd rank Arch Enemy vocalists: 1 Angela, 2 Johan, and 3 Alyssa. She's good but better in The Agonist. Yeah, I really like that first Arch Enemy album. Was it Burning Bridges? I forget. It's on the shelf. Oh no, my guilty pleasures have been discovered. LOL. Same with 50 Shades of Grey. Oh no. For Sabbath, it was the fear as the spectacle with the heavy tone that created metal. What is this that stands before me? Worst interactions I've had is with Prague symphonic metal fans. Yeah, I could see that. Prague people can get way up their ass. But that's the thing, though, is like, mathcore people are kind of the same way, because it's a similar idea that like my music is like more technical than you can handle, like more than your brain can fit and understand, your little puny mind. Like it's that same idea. So it's very off-putting. Best interactions I've had is with grindcore brutal death metal fans. Yeah, I could say that grindcore too has had in the past couple of years it's been a little bit more rough. you get a lot of arguments about the guy from we'll just say AC. I won't say the full name again because I don't want to get my stream in trouble here. Not that it should matter because it's the band's name, but I find the arguments about that to be kind of tiresome. Thanks. K-pop fans are the worst, though. That's probably true. That's probably true. From what I've seen, too, with like some of the campaigns of just pure destruction that they will put on, they will try to cancel you if you say anything negative about their favorite K-pop musician. I have issues with a lot of people in the vegan core scene and with Woods, lol, but some of the friendliest communities I've ever been in where every time I die and Snapcase. See, that's interesting. I guess that's kind of true because I am in the ET idiots group on Facebook, however you want to pronounce that. And they're generally pretty cool. But again, every time I die, that's the same thing where it's like the vocalist, did that show and they said that. And it really irked me as somebody who's been a big fan of them for a long time and still am. Like, not to the point where it's just another situation where I'd really be interested to sit down with Keith Buckley and like talk through what his thinking was on that and how he feels about that now and how I feel about it. Like, that would be an interesting conversation. That would also really trip me out because I've been listening to Keith since I was like 16. So when I get to talk to these bigger artists, it's really weird, but it's been really cool too. I have issues with a lot of people in the vegan. Oh wait, no, we already said that. I'm amazed by how much of an arms race has happened in pop music. A lot of pop music is actually incredibly sophisticated these days. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Another one I'll shout out is Lady Gaga. Super, super talented, super creative, super innovative. Like the same way, like if I were ranking bands with my innovation scale in pop, she's like near the top. Great stuff there. Not somebody I sit down and like listen to regularly, but when her songs come on the radio, I generally listen to them because I think that she's just quite the creative force and she writes her own music and very cool. Thanks, Lady Gaga. Very cool. I like where metal is now. Not overly popular, but the big acts are plenty of music and ups and corners, merging genres and making lots of interesting music. Cult of Lilith is perfect example. Oh my gosh, yes, dude. That Cult of Lilith album, another one that deserves so much more recognition. And if you love Flesh God Apocalypse, I think you should definitely check them out. BTS fan base remind me so much of a cult. Dude, it is. It so seems like it is. You don't dare criticize their precious senpai and you get death threats. Yeah, for sure. It's true. I mean, it's literally true. I hear the stories. Latin trap pop is probably my least favorite form of pop music, along with K-pop. I haven't dug hard enough into J-pop though. Black Earth. Gonna go head off and listen to Annihilation of the Wicked now. See you later. See you, Quest. Thanks for joining. It's been fun. Metal is definitely in a good place at the moment, but I just wish people would be more willing to explore heavier music instead of avoiding it because of misconceptions. Yeah, I agree. But I think that wind is starting to change. This is why when people are like crapping on projects like Poppy, I'm there waving their flag because I'm like, if we want to grow this scene and change that misconception, we need a bridge. And bands like Poppy and Baby Metal are that bridge that can bring in more people to challenge that misconception and see that, oh wow, there's really a lot more to this. And it never stops at that. I think people have this misconception that like, oh well, they'll be Poppy and Baby Metal fans and that's all they'll listen to. It's like, no, it's like it's never been that way. Like, otherwise I'd still be listening to like Slipknot and Korn and nothing else right now. Like, those were my gateway to Dark Tranquillity and metalcore, and then that eventually became a gateway to black metal and like everything I listen to now. It's got to start somewhere. So I'm interested to see what happens in the next couple of years with that. Never seen How You Look. Yeah, I know. What did Keith say? I said it earlier. Maybe you missed it, but there was some show where he like shouted out to the audience, like, if you're wearing a MAGA hat, like get the fuck out, like that kind of thing. I won't say exactly what he said because I can't remember the exact quote, but you can look it up. Like if you Google like Keith Buckley kicks out Trump fans or something like that. I was making the argument that like I agree, like political lyrics, fine, great, speak your mind, but when you're like shouting out things randomly to like kick people out of your show in between songs, like that doesn't bode well for me. I don't like that. I won't kick anybody out of anything. Like if we're all here together to share our love of this thing, all the more power to it. I've been a metalhead for 12 years. Metal is my life. That's awesome. I think fringe bands like Poppy and Ghostmain are really important to bringing people in the scene. Yeah, just like I was saying, absolutely. Agree 100%. With regard to metal being inaccessible, at least. I think when people say you have to be a Satanist to listen to metal, it's not true. I'm a legit Christian. Listen to Decrepit Birth, Slayer, Slipknot, Immortal, Infant Annihilator, Metallica, etc. Yeah, same. Like I pray. I go to church. I haven't been as good about that lately. I've been on and off with it. And I was raised Presbyterian. Like that stuff's all still important to me. And you can do both. Like there's no reason you can't. And you can choose not to do that too. What do you? That's what I'd just say. Archspire is my favorite band. I cannot wait to hear new Archspire. Like I'm so stoked about that. And I could potentially do an interview with them too, because I'm kind of friends with Malcolm, who runs the Artisan Era, and to my knowledge, they're still working with them. Cult of Lilith is great. Yes. Cattle Decapitation, Flesh God Apocalypse, awesome. Not sure I agree, Leonid, that metal is in a great place. We've been rehashing the same old stuff, and innovation is coming for some weird prog stuff like Imperial Triumphant. I mean, different strokes. I still argue that this is such an exciting time. Like, yes, there's a lot of the same, but if you know what rocks to dig under, like you'll find stuff that you like that is different. Love underground death metal too. I mean, Tom Araya. I was having trouble saying Tom's last name. Slayer is Catholic and Slayer slang about Satan a lot. I mean, he has a song called God Hates Us All. There's a great interview with him talking about that. Religion and singing about Satan can coexist. My sister is a BTS fan. I'm so sorry. Yeet Feet, same. Christian, myself as well. Immolation and Behemoth are some of my favorite bands. Yeah, totally. And I just think it's really cool that Nurgle, like, especially in Poland, you know, tore up the Bible on stage. Like, yeah, speak your mind. Like, if there's bad stuff going on, share it. And the fact that he was like arrested for that is just so crazy to me. The horns from Astronaut Bunny with goofy face. But why do we care every time heavy music gets popular, it gets watered down? I disagree. Like, if that were the case, there wouldn't be any heavy music left, and that's just not true. Like, maybe some of those bands get watered down, but for every band that gets watered down, like 10 more, it's like a Hydra, man. Like, for every one band that sells out or whatever you want to call it, there's going to be 100 more that pop up with like a sound 10 times heavier. And if you just look at the trajectory of just how much heavier music is now than it used to be, like it's crazy the stuff thing that you can get away with now too, that would not have flown anywhere, even within the traditional metal scene, just back in like the 80s or the 90s. So I disagree. I don't think it's getting watered down. I think certain bands can get watered down, but yeah. Blackwater Rush, exactly. Metal is for everyone. We haven't had new major genres in metal emerging since deathcore in the 2000s. I think we could argue that, like, whether for better or worse, if you like it or not, like trapcore type stuff, like that's new. And then like pop metal type stuff. Gent is relatively new too. I'd say Gent of the bigger ones is probably the most recent. As far as like being its own genre, obviously Meshuggah's been around forever, but it didn't really become like a genre until later in the 2000s with like Periphery. Yeet Feet, well, my girlfriend only listens to pop and trap. I mean, my partner is kind of the same way. Like, she doesn't listen to a ton of metal. She loves Amon Amarth. I was playing, what was I playing the other day that she really liked? Or no, she came across Ailstorm. And she's like, do you listen to Ailstorm? I'm like, yeah, sometimes. She's like, they're awesome. I'm like, yeah, dude, pirate metal. Hell yeah. I'm going to have her on a video at some point, but we just haven't figured out like the best one to do it with. I'm a POC metalhead and goth guy. I hate people thinking they know me because I'm black. I can listen to whatever you want. Yeah, man, for sure. Do you get, I'm curious, I'm genuinely curious, like, do you get a lot of people coming up to you and like assuming you know like about rap and hip hop and stuff? Although you said you're a goth guy, so maybe you dress differently though, so I don't know. I mean, to me, it reminds me of like as a very just standard looking white guy, people constantly come up to me and like want to talk about sports because they just assume that I'm into sports. And I'm like, I could give a fuck about like who's playing. I don't even know like what season, what sport is going on right now. Like I could care less. But yeah, I'm curious like what that's like for you. But thank you for being here and welcome. Like we diversity is a good thing when it's done naturally too, and it's not like forced and tokenized. I'd like it to get more notoriety for musicianship, but I don't care that it becomes more popular. Okay. Hey, LOL, I black water rust. Metal and religion are two different things. Yeah, totally. Listens to only, yeah, my sister listens to some rock and one for whom the bell tolls by Metallica. Other than that, she only listens to rap, trap, pop, and that stuff. All good. People have their preferences. A lot of Satanism and metal is tongue in cheek, even Nurgle. Yeah, I would agree with that. And also a lot of it I still think is like edgelord stuff. It's like they don't actually believe it. They just say it because either you're kind of supposed to say it or it's shocking and you want to get that reaction. Although I argue now, like, there's nothing shocking about satanic lyrics anymore. Like, you're really not going to upset anyone except for like the smallest minority of like the pearl clutching types with that, which is another argument I've made as to why we've seen a rise in kind of more like racist kind of lyrics. I feel like it's the same kind of idea. It's that like, okay, Satanism doesn't work anymore. What shocks people's now? Oh, being racist and intolerant. Like I feel like honestly that's where some of that comes from, and it's not generally that these people hold those ideals. They're just using them because they're edgelords and they think they'll get a reaction. In many cases they do. So it's like mission accomplished. So now you're sort of encouraging them to do it more is another argument I make. So I got another Christmas cookies picture. Those are really good. Hey, that's pretty good. Where are we? I feel like my voice is starting to give out. I'm glad I already recorded my review. I just have to edit it. Well, I do think Ghostman is a tad bit overrated. I understand the appeal, though I didn't like Anti-Icon. I didn't even really listen to it. The songs I heard, I was just sort of okay with. I don't care about God or Satan. Metal is my religion. I can't wait for the new Archspire album as well. Dang it. It skipped me forward again. I'm falling behind again. Crap. Boy, I'm way behind now, aren't I? I don't. In Eternal Snow, Archspire is exciting. Yes, of course. Having amazing personas in a band puts them over the top. I also feel great supporting Archspire in part because Dean and Claire are so awesome. Yeah, totally. I love that they were on that like news segment too, that like local news segment. That was fun. I listen to Archspire every day. If you like that, you should check out Croesus if you didn't already. I reviewed them much earlier in the year. Great deathcore band, and check out the track Psychoticalism in particular. There's some very kind of Archspire sounding vocals at the beginning of that where it's like I can't even imitate it. But yeah, Croesus is going places. They're really cool. I had them on the podcast too. Super exciting. There's a lot of great music. I just discovered Serox. Oh man, Serox is nuts. Fun fact, Serox is one of the first two videos I did for the channel because originally the podcast was just me doing long form, off the cuff audio reviews of albums. And I can't remember if it was Serox or Moss Upon the Skull that was the first one. But yeah, I reviewed their album as a very early piece of content. I love Christian metalcore. Yeah, dude, there's a lot of great. That was a great era for metalcore, even though some of them were full of shit. Like As I Lay Dying kind of admitted, and obviously with what happened with them, like not the most Christian of dudes necessarily in that band, but yeah, lots of good stuff. Technically, like the Chariot too, Norma Jean, lots of good stuff. I like the new Avalanches album. Haven't heard it. Christian metalcore is good. Silent Planet's good. I'm not that religious, but I'm annoyed by those belligerent atheists in metal. Yeah, dude, they're just as bad as like the hardcore religious types. Like anytime somebody just doubles down into their team again, like it's just so off-putting to me. Um, it's like, okay, you like your thing. That doesn't mean everybody else has to like your thing. It's really annoying. August Burns Red, Devil Wears Prada. Yeah, good stuff. I mean, Far Beyond Driven was number one in 1994. That's a long time ago, but that's just an example. I love Ice Nine Kills. They are my favorite metalcore band. Definitely not mine, but I know they're blowing up in their own way. Nurgle has said that he respects people that are religious as long as they practice what they preach. Yeah, I think that's fair. Pop metal, I like Nurgle a lot, even though I really did not like I Loved You at Your Darkest. I still think that is a Hot Topic behemoth. Whereas the Satanist was just so good. So yeah, but I like Nurgle a lot. I like his interviews. He seems like a cool dude. Pop metal would be bands like I See Stars, Periphery. Yes, love Periphery. Metal doesn't need to be watered down necessarily. Music just needs to be comfortable with the zeitgeist. Okay. My friend likes alternative rap, trap metal. No, I wear a metal vest with band patches. Hate sports. Yeah, I want to wear this more often. I just haven't had as many opportunities lately. Hate rap, lol. I prefer 90s rap, like Wu-Tang Clan. Freaking love Wu-Tang Clan, man. 36 Chambers. If you want some heavy rap that I think would appeal to a metalhead, check out 36 Chambers from Wu-Tang. You might actually like it. And there's other good stuff out there too. And then there's more modern artists that we like as well. Okay, I'm gonna have to cut this off pretty soon because I'm gonna be back to dad mode, so to speak. But let me try to get through some of these remaining chats here. I'm a doctor with tattoos. Everyone can't understand why I love metal. I mean, it's kind of like that with me working as a mental health clinician. I'm the only one in my office who listens to metal, and I'll have it like blasting when they come into my office, and they've kind of just like take it as my quirk at this point, and they kind of laugh about it. So it's cool. Last Day Breathing in Eternal Snow gives a vomit icon and thumbs down. I'm not sure what that was in reference to. In school, kids bully me because I'm black and I like metal. I'm like the only kid in school who likes metal. That's lame, man. I'm sorry to hear that. Don't worry, man. As you get older, that will die down significantly. I mean, partially it's just school fucking sucks. I mean, socially, anyways. Schools, I miss schools being open for the knowledge it gives, and for my kids are missing out on a lot of important social experiences, but I do not miss all the bullying and all that stuff. Just for it's no matter what. Like I used to obviously I'm, in case you couldn't tell, I'm not black, but I got bullied for the music I listened to all the time, and for the way I dressed, and I'd wear the big baggy jeans and the wallet chain and the spiky hair, the frosted tips, all that stuff. I can relate, but you know what, man? At the end of the day, you like what you like, and try not to let it get to you. Things will get better. It really does. Especially when you find little pocket communities like this. At William, you are brutally saving lives. Nice. I like some rap. Aesop Rock. Dude, Aesop Rock is so good. Fucking lyrical genius. Clipping, Juicy, J, MF Doom. Yeah, dude. MF Doom's good shit. Death Grips, heavy, man. Again, if you want some heavy, crazy rap, Death Grips. Who else would I recommend? Jedi Mind Tricks, too. A couple albums in particular, but they're A Vision of Gandhi is a really good album from them. And then the one right after that, I actually like even more. I'm forgetting the name of it. But yeah, Jedi Mind Tricks goes hard, and they actually Vinny Paz, one of the vocalists, he'll reference like the Dillinger Escape Plan and like other metal stuff in his raps, and he just has this like raunchy voice too. Really good stuff. Oculus scares me more than Behemoth. Totally. Yeah, Behemoth is like, especially at this point, it's pretty accessible, I would argue, and Oculus is not for the average person. Yeet, you are amazing. They will never understand because they have a mind of a dumb elephant. 100. Yeet, I'm so sorry for that. Look at all this support. This warms my heart. Being satanic is not brave these days. Yeah, totally. It's not. Like, yeah, there's it's like you're a dime a dozen at this point. There was a time where like being openly satanic would be considered kind of brave and ballsy, but not anymore. Confronting, I don't know about that second part. It depends on how you're doing it, because a lot of like SJW confrontation, it can be just as cringy as the like really cringy SJW stuff. So it sort of depends. But I think being able to stand your ground and speak your mind and have an opinion on something, even in the face of knowing that some people are going to try to cancel you for it, is there's some bravery to that. It's okay. I'm just living my life and listening and playing drums, what I like, not what other people want me to. Yeah, man, I can relate deep on that stuff. Stay strong. It's your taste and your life. Live it as you want to. Try to cut down on the commenting, y'all, because I'm going to be cutting off soon. I want to try to get to as many of these as I can. Clipping Run the Jewels, Ho 9909, never heard of that, are pretty good hip hop groups. Yeah, everyone's raving about the new Run the Jewels. I have not listened to it, actually. I probably need to get into that. Some women and men see me from afar and try to get as far away from me as possible. They give me those faces. That's lame, man. People like that, it's lame. They just don't understand, though. And you got to be careful too, because you can get so steeped in that mentality that you start to like read those faces when they're not even there. I know I've been guilty of this too, where I get in my head too much and I start to think that somebody's like judging me, and then I find out later that they're not. So that's why conversation is so important. Like I try to, get more clarity as much as I can. But yeah, it does suck when people, silently judge you like that. Eat Feet says, thanks. Metal Trenches, I know Croesus. I have their album. Hell yeah, dude. That's what I like to hear. Ho9909 is good. I'm probably not even saying that name right. You missed my comment between William and Omegadeath. Ah, crap. I gotta find you again. God. Oh, I found it. Look at that. I love Christian metalcore. Okay. I thought I commented on that. Maybe I didn't. Yeet, metal music is beautiful, sexy, brutal, and amazing. Although I like Atheist, the band, yes, of course. At the Last Day, thanks, man. I love to listen to it in the OR too. It's the OR. I see OR and I think Oregon, because that's where I am. Don't know if people are judging me because I'm black or because I'm a metalhead or both. Yeah, it's hard. Or maybe again, it's nothing to do with that at all. I'd be curious. What might be fun would be to non-confrontationally, and you don't have to do this because you don't have to, but what I would be interested in doing as kind of an experiment is the next time somebody does that, just very nicely going up to them and being like, hey, can I ask you something? And if they're like, yeah, sure. It's like, it seemed like you were kind of making a face at me, and I'm just curious what was going through your head. Or something like that. Like I've done stuff like that before, later on, and cleared up misconceptions. If you feel safe doing that or whatever, it might be interesting. One of my favorite things to do when I was younger was I would dress really crazy, and I'd have the painted black nails and all black and the band tee and the baggy shorts and the spiked hair and everything. But then I'd like put so much effort into being like the nicest, sweetest person I could possibly be. So like when I worked at I used to work at like Cold Stone Creamery, and I just really try to hammer in the customer service, because I like the idea that I was getting rid of this stigma and sort of defying their initial thoughts about me. Like they'd walk in, see me, assume something about me, and then see like, oh wow, what a nice young man. Like I loved the idea of doing that because I felt like I was sort of paving the way for them to react to other people like me differently, who maybe don't have those skills. So I like doing that. That's why I like talking about metal at work on occasion too, to kind of destigmatize that, because they all know me as like this sweet, like, you know, mental health professional. And I want them to see that those two things can go hand in hand. Love You at Your Darkest and the new EP were not good. Yeah, I agree on that. I know some people really liked it. If you did, that's fine. But yeah, they were definitely, if I were rating like Fantano, it would be a not good video. I just can't get myself to listen to rap metal forever. Mwahaha. Yeah, you know, there was a time I felt that way, but my friend in college turned me on to some stuff that opened my horizons. Vomit thumbs down because I hate rap and sports. Yeah. I'm not a fan of sports. But yeah, that sucks to probably be if you're like asked about that all the time. Some rap I just can't get into it. Yeah, dude, there's plenty of bad rap out there, just like there's plenty of bad metal out there. Thanks for doing this stream. I think it's an important thing to people who are most heavily engaged in this community. These little online communities are even more important than with COVID. Yes, I agree. And thank you all for being here. Like, this was fun. Again, I expected to just sort of be editing and maybe check back on the chat a few times. But yeah, it ended up being very engaging. And my voice is going out, though. So I'm glad we're kind of coming to an end as much as I have enjoyed it. Alternative people always get bullied no matter what color you are. I'd agree with that to an extent, although it can be more extreme for some people in certain communities, depending on the situation. It's very contextual. My favorite subgenres of metal are technical death metal, DSBM, progressive metal, and extreme metal. I love the Dillinger Escape Plan. Yeah, I miss them too, man. Hope you watched my tier list. You might have commented on it even. It's hard. I apologize when like I tell somebody to subscribe and stick around or watch this video and they've already watched it and commented. Maybe we even had an interaction, but you got to recognize, y'all, like there's a lot of comments now, which is cool, but it's hard for me to keep track of who said what and everyone's name and everything. So please don't be offended that I like didn't necessarily remember you. Do you wear a mask on your channel just because of your job? That's a big part of it. It's just an overall privacy thing. I don't think my office would be upset about it. In fact, I've mentioned that I do something like this before and they thought it was cool. But it's just the idea that, like, say I accidentally like say the wrong thing or rub someone the wrong way in a particular video, and then like, you know, here comes the mob, and then you get reported, and the first thing they go for sometimes is your job, and then maybe the national office isn't okay with it. And it's just to be on the safe side, really. I'd rather do that. And plus I've come accustomed to the mask. Like it's kind of like just that's Flight of Icarus. Like that is Flight of Icarus now, like forever. So yeah, Satanism is boring in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, it's not like the shocking thing it used to be. I'm gonna head off and listen to The Agonist. Thanks for joining us, Omega Death. Last Day Burning in Eternal Snow, but I love Demon Designs and Devil, like artistic wise. Yes, they're very cool. Bye everyone. This year I've found myself getting into Doom, all these genres. 2020 got me feeling so depressed. Yeah, thank God we had all this amazing music and community to get through it together. Gonna go listen to Loathe. Enjoy, my man. Loathe, so good. So good. And speaking of which, another band with a black frontman that's getting some major attention, and they deserve it. And again, to me, I could care less if he was black, white, orange, purple, whatever. He's a damn good vocalist, and they are just killing it with that album. See everyone next video, next stream. Peace, Blackwater, DSBM is everything. Above that, buy Trenches, stay metal. Buy You, stay metal as well. It's pronounced horror. Okay, thank you. But yeah, it's not intuitive. No, that's not intuitive at all. Like I see plenty of bands do that. How do you get an R out of 9? That's ridiculous. Operating Room, The Last Day Breathing in Eternal Snow, Leviathan, Bethlehem, and Zathsler for Life. Don't like your face, you meanie pie. They make Dragon Ball pee-pee. I paint my nails black all the time. I kind of miss it sometimes.
I just realized I just said DBSM instead of DSBM. Laughed my ass off. Russ, check out Cold World, Thy Light, and I finally reached my end right after this. Yeah, that's awesome. Cold World is cool. Sorry, I'm trying to get through the end of this. Oh, good, I'm at the end. Black Russ, I love being tied up too. JK DBSM. Wow. Peace to y'all. I live in mostly white diverse neighborhood. Diversity. I live in a very Asian neighborhood. A lot of Vietnamese and Korean people on my street, which is kind of cool. Bye, Blackwater Rust. It's your persona. I asked because I thought of making a channel. Do it, man. If I could give one piece of advice to myself from a couple years ago, because I've been thinking about doing this forever, it's just fucking do it. Just do it. Your first couple videos are probably going to suck. The quality is going to suck. I even have videos from this year that I think suck because the lighting's terrible. My face is framed weird. I sound boring. I have no energy. But you know what? That's how you get better. Like, that's how you learn how to do it. So just start it and you'll learn as you go. Don't be afraid to mess up. Like, you learn from the struggle. Yes, Loathe are awesome, and Seven Dust 3-hour editing stream. How it goes? I edited nothing, not a damn thing. I loaded the files into the software and I synced the video and audio. That is all of the editing I did. So I will retitle the name of this when it goes up for people to view. But yeah, no editing happened here, and I may not even get to it today because now the fam's coming home. We'll probably do some Christmas stuff now, which will be fun. So yeah, thank you all for being here. I'm tired of going outside. I want to cry. I'm sorry, man. All right, I'm looking forward to taking this mask off too. But thank you so much. Little progress is still progress, absolutely. I want to look back at my content this year too and say like, wow, that sucked in comparison to what I'm doing now. That's all. There's a great speech from god dang it, the guy from the Dallas Buyers Club, Matthew McConaughey, when he won the Academy Award for Dallas Buyers Club. He gave this great speech about like getting older and not wanting to be the same person and constantly like looking back and wanting to be able to say that like he's a different person now than he was then. And I thought that was a really cool speech that stuck with me. And so I look at all my work and my role as a dad and partner and work on this channel too in the same way. So yeah, take care, everyone. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here and making this so fun. I'll have to do this again sometime, but we'll see, when I'm able to do that. But yeah, peace.